From the stars came the will to shape fate, hurling this world toward ruin. This burden is mine to bear. To offer guidance where it is most needed. To demand sacrifice.
And down those lizard trinkets.
Sentinel of the Great Bastion! Supreme Matriarch of Nangao. Master of the Storm Winds. Daughter of the Dragon Emperor.
One more time! One more time! One more time!
From the stars came the will to shape fate, hurling this world toward ruin. This burden is mine to bear. To offer guidance where it is most needed. To demand sacrifice.
it's so good. It's so good. It's so good. Hello, everyone. Hello. And welcome to the Cathay party. It's a party that's not stopping for hours. There is so much to talk about today. I have so many things to show you. So many beautiful, brilliant things.
Lizard trinkets.
And oh, what a trailer! Oh, there's so much to do. There's so much to watch. Let's get everything set up, and then I have so much to show you. Today is just a magical day, and also a super stressful day. I always love and hate release days. It's such a rat race. Every single fucking content creator and their goddamn mother is pumping out shit like there's no tomorrow. Ugh, drives me crazy. But there's so much to show off. So, let me pull up everything we're going to need.
Wretched foul lizard thing joins the red host.
We have much to talk about. We got shit coming out. We got shit coming out from Games Workshop. We got shit coming out from the FAQ blogs. We've got shits coming out from how they were created blog. We got a lot. We got a lot to look at. So we're not gonna waste any time. We're gonna just get straight into it. I am pulling up every single article I need, which there are a lot of them. I got screenshots that Creative Assembly sent me that we're gonna be looking at. So let me get, I need to go to, here, and then I need to go
Another wretched foul
here.
lizard thing joins the red host.
Before we get any further,
Cursed Sotek.
so many people, oh my gosh. Welcome to the stream, Big Aggie 72, Fangs Out, Duke KXM, Charlie the Turtle, Califirm, Cheese Reaper, Rotating Potato 94, Atarak, 9663, Bubfix, Beether, Lord Inquisitor, Ignis, AV Pick Stream, Jake Woo 6410, Hathano, Tactical Sign, Enter the 64, Defsa, You Get Used to It, Charge of the Rhino 369, The Dragon, Uzu Skull Taker, Jack Diego, Hawk Godly, Warden Command, Server of the Great Horn, Rat, Uji is here, Antipat, Ordered X,
joins the red host.
Johnny Thorson, and Batarius. Thank you all very much for coming and participating. Shut up, Throt. Participating. I will answer that later. Thanks for all those Ola Skinks. Also, a big shout out and thank you to all of the subs already. Mr. Bonky Daleks, thanks so much for being here and for the 3 months of support due. Brandon loves you. Good to see you, my dude. 4 months. Kronos 808, thank you for the let's go 4 months. Morning to Crescent, thank you very much for the 5 gift subs. I really appreciate that. Claral, thank you for the tier 1 sub. Marcus 29. All right, thanks for the prime sub. Welcome to the red host. Enjoy the emotes, guys. Okay, let's get started. That one guy you know, Madros 98. Thanks so much for the Ola Skeeks redeems and welcome to the streams, my dude. Okay, first things first. Let's watch another video. First things first. Let's watch another video. That's not the right button. That's the right button. Where am I? I'm right here. All right, let's check out what Games Workshop's got for us. We got a 3-minute video from GW.
Cathay's been in Warhammer as long as there's been Warhammer.
Andy Roar.
The very first edition of the game going back to the
yeah, as you can see, this is the guy in charge of Warhammer the Old World. So we know that Warhammer the Old World is going to have Cathay as a big feature. Whoa! You can't hear him? You don't hear this?
384 mentions Cathay in a very loose form. In fact, all of the familiar nations of the Warhammer world were mentioned in only very passing sort of way in those early editions. And so when it came to actually working on Cathay with Creative Assembly, we went back to those early mentions. We picked out those little Easter eggs that had been left for us by previous generations of writers, and we expanded and extrapolated them and came up with a complete faction, a complete nation.
I mean, we got together as a team. So the first thing is we sit in a room, we discuss what is Cathay. This is a new design, a new army. Where do we start? We start from the ground up. Okay, let's get a bit of history. So our rules writers will join in. We'll come up with history. We'll play with ideas. We'll also have a discussion with Creative Assembly because they have their own ideas and opinions, and we're sort of like mediating it and helping control what is right.
Okay, so anyone else getting the vibes from the way Games Workshop's presenting this, where they're like, we made Cathay, they may have helped a little bit, but it's our idea, even though Games Workshop absolutely did not want to do Cathay at all for years.
And what fits our world.
Lying bastards.
The thing about it, Warhammer,
absolute full of, they're so full of shit.
It's sort of on a basis
so
on
full of shit.
Historical real armies. So our first port of call would look at ancient Chinese armies, look how they're built up, look at the designs, look at the way they're armoured, the way their units fought. And that's a good starting point as a foundation for designing an army. And from there, we'd start to put the fantastical into it.
Who are the characters that you see on the tabletop? Who are the soldiers? How and why do they fight? But also the top level, the top down.
I like how Games Workshop is like, hey, yeah, we totally had the rules writers at the tables. You know, those guys that, you know, there's a controversy about how we barely pay them a living wage. Like, we literally get as much effort out of them as possible and pay them the least amount of money. Yeah, those guys, yeah, we had them at the table. You know, let's give a round of applause to the peasants that work for us.
What's the big history of Cathay? Who are the Dragon Emperors? Why are they dragons?
We needed the look of the army to be a hierarchy of dragons that controlled this army. We knew that the leaders and the emperor and the empress were both dragon forms. They were first dragons. This is not a dragon that has a rider on the back. They would never imagine that. They are the leaders, but they also can take human form to interact with their own people.
God, I love her so much.
We wanted the hierarchy to be...
I want to be Miao Ling's house husband.
A dragon.
I'm just saying. Just
cities. From there, we sort of worked and said, okay, you would have a similar to an empire where you'd have militia and peasant factors. You want that in there as well to give you a feel of the human level.
Like new dragon waifu
to have a bit of
all
everything.
The way.
It feels
all
like
the
it's
way.
Going to have some great magic. It's going to have serried ranks of.
Oh, look at this in-game footage! Look at that! Okay, so the pink horseshoe projectiles.
It feels like this army is going to have a bit of everything. It feels like it's going to have.
So we got magic. Okay, so we got looks like we got the Astromancer. So that looks. We've heard there are Astromancers.
Disciplined warriors. It's going to have war machines. It's going to have magicians. It's going to have flying things and cavalry. The secret to this army is in the way all of these disparate unit types work together. But the overall theme is disciplined ranks of very skilled soldiers, high magic, all of that sort of thing is there. But the way they balance off against each other is key. Using them together in a balanced way is key.
That man sounds like he needs some sleep. Okay. So that a lot of really good information there. Not anything necessarily super new, other than we got to see a little bit of in-game footage, and learned a little bit about that Games Workshop was heavily involved. I feel like Games Workshop is almost trying to steal credit a little bit. However, this article is really telling. So check this out. So Games Workshop put up a new article talking about Cathay, and how they're one of the big six of the main races. So let's take, and they got a lot of beautiful concept art up that looks really, really cool. So we've got Miao Ying, which Miao Ying I am so in on Miao Ying. Like, it's gonna take a miracle for Miao Ying not to be my first playthrough. Like, yes, I will post the link to the article in chat. That's a great idea. There you go, guys. So she looks amazing, but dude, they did such a good job. Look at that. They're branding Warhammer the Old World over all of this concept art. Look at that. They're literally branding all of the concept art with Warhammer the Old World. So we have the Storm Dragon Miao Ying, defends the northern border from chaos. She commands the armies of the Great Bastion, the towering magical wall constructed by her father, the Celestial Dragon Emperor, that stands as a powerful vanguard against the ever-present threats to Cathay. And then here we've got the concept art from Warhammer the Old World and from Total War, as the Terracotta Sentinels. Oh, I love the Terracotta Sentinels, dude. I was like, they gotta do Terracotta Soldiers. They gotta do Terracotta Soldiers. And then they come out, they're like, Terracotta Giants. It's like, oh, of course. How could I be so foolish? How could I be? How could I have thought so little, though so small? They also talk about the Alchemists and the Astromancers, two of the major sorcerers. And then here we have some basic artwork of the basic troops. Look, we got crossbows. So we got like Chinese crossbows. We've got looks like super elite infantry, this guy right here. And then looks like we've got a more basic, I wonder if this is a dragon monk. Do y'all think this is a dragon monk? This guy right here? Because we haven't seen the dragon monks yet. I don't even know if they're in the game. But I think this might be a dragon monk. Because he doesn't, like, this guy doesn't look like he would be wielding any normal weapons. And then they just threw in Chaos Warriors riding Discs of Tzeentch. Dude, Age of Sigmar does not even have flying Chaos Warriors. Like, Fantasy has something AOS does not have. That's hilarious. That is hilarious. Though I highly suspect the newest Tzeentch book in 3rd edition will probably get those as high tier troops. And yeah, I mean, the weapons look absolutely fantastic. I really like the crossbows. And dude, the flying islands. Oh, it's so cool. The flying islands are so cool. And like, I love that they got like all these like steel cables, or I don't know if they're steel, maybe they're made out of something else, but they've got all these cables connecting all the islands because the humans can't fly. My mouse is invisible. Oh yeah, I should probably turn my mouse back on. But they've got all these flying islands, right? But I love that the Cathayans can't, you know, it's like they can't fly. So they just use, they use like pulley systems. You can kind of see in the trailer. Just absolutely amazing. 8th edition rules, we understand. Yes, it does, Games Workshop. Thank you for admitting it. I'm so excited for this. Oh my gosh. Creative Assembly or Warhammer Studios like, yeah, we made stats and special abilities so you could use all of these units on tabletop. That way Creative Assembly would have a reference and give them to publish the Cathay book, you cowards. Just absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. All right, let's take a look at the FAQ. So, there's a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about the lore a lot here in just a little bit. I want to get through all of the imagery and other information that I have, and like show off everything we have here, and then we're going to start talking about lore, because there are some huge lore bombs in these trailers and everything that's coming out. Real quick, want to give a Lordos Machos Hola Skinks, welcome to the stream. Good to see you, my dude. Welcome. So we've got, what is Grand Cathay? Of course, if y'all are new around here, I'll go ahead and read through these. So we've got Grand Cathay is the largest nation in the old world. Far beyond the mountains to the east, past the lands of the dwarfs, the snowfields of Kislev, even beyond the ogre kingdoms, lies this incredibly ancient and powerful land, overseen by the Celestial Dragon Emperor and his wife, the Moon Empress, and ruled by their children, It is a mysterious land of incredible military might. Massive terracotta statues come to life to defend the Great Bastion against the floods of chaos that come to Grand Cathay's doors. Dragon-blooded sorcerers wield the magic lures of yin and yang in harmony to blast enemies from the battlefield. Powerful artillery and well-drilled troops numbering in the thousands slay any enemy that dares takes one too many steps. And then they talk about that they worked with Games Workshop, just like they did with Kislev. Though, honestly, I'm going to say it, and this might catch some flack, but I'm going to say it. I think the Cathay army has a better feel to it than the Kislev army. I think Cathay did a better job. Granted, that might change when we get more information on it, but like, I feel like Kislev, we're still missing that Ungol Gospodar feel. Like, we have virtually no Ungol stuff, and there's too many, and they gave bears to, like, every single character. Those are huge discount, or those are huge minuses. Huge minuses to Cathay, or Kislev, in my opinion. But, and also Kataryn not having her sled. Like, come on. You give Cathay two lords that transform into dragons, and you can't give Kataryn her goddamn sled. Ugh. Alright, anyway, moving on. So who are Cathay's legendary lords? For Total War Warhammer 2, Cathay's playable legendary lords are Zhao Ming, the Iron Dragon, ruler of the Western Provinces and Lord of Shenyang, and Miao Ying, the Storm Dragon, ruler of the Northern Provinces and commander of the Great Bastion. Miao Ying is featured in the trailer above, while you'll get your first glimpse of Zhao Ming next week. Also, huge announcement. I don't know if y'all have seen, but Games Workshop, Creative Assembly has confirmed that there will be something to reveal for Total War Warhammer 3 every week. Or at least just about every week until release. Or at least until the Christmas season. So there is going to be just tons of shit to talk about pretty much non-stop from here to the end of the party, which is so exciting. So next week, we're going to get to see Zhao Ming, and more about Cathay as we go into the future. So hold on, dragons? Yes, the rulers of Cathay are immortal dragons who can take human form, as well as being extremely cool. This makes them both incredibly powerful combatants, amazing sorcerers, and natural leaders. We'll dedicate a bit of time to that topic soon. If I had to guess, I would suspect that each dragon is probably going to have a different lore of magic. So, Miao Ying is probably going to have, like, maybe the lore of Yang, and then Zhao Ming will have the lore of Yin, something like that. Alright, but what about the Celestial Dragon Emperor and his wife, the Moon Empress? Fair question. Yes, the Celestial Dragon Emperor still rules over Grand Cathay. He spends his time in the Celestial City above Weijin, contemplating the destiny of the Empire with his wife, the equally revered Moon Empress. They are the true power couple of the Warhammer world, older than most of the gods, for they existed when the planet was colder, before even the Old Ones came and pulled it closer to the sun. As they rarely leave the Celestial Court, and their power level is, frankly, on par with most gods, we knew that they were not the right candidates to be Cathay's legendary lords. In much the same way, you're not actually playing and deploying Khorne or Nurgle to the battlefield. Instead, their children provide a much more interesting prospect for the game. They are still extremely powerful characters with compelling family dynamics. Spoiler, the siblings do not get on, but with all the responsibilities of ruling and protecting great swaths of Cathay. How does Grand Cathay play? As an empire, a people, and on the battlefield, Grand Cathay is all about harmony. They are a defensively focused army, long-standing against the tides of darkness that crash against their great bastion, over and over again across the centuries. Ranged and melee units receive buffs when in close proximity, their power boosted as the yin and yang that runs through every inhabitant of the empire works in concert. This gives them incredible range firepower and a stalwart, hardy front line. They are slow-moving and easy to flank, but their flying machines, alchemists, and dragon sorcerers do much to make the army a formidable one. On the campaign map, Grand Cathay must use the incredible wealth of the Ivory Road to fund their war effort in defense of the Grand Bastion, the invincible walled fortress that borders the Chaos Waste to their north. Defending it and launching assaults from it is a key part of their campaign and will make or break the fates of mortals. Naturally, we'll have more information, a roster reveal, unit spotlights, and much more in the coming weeks. What can I expect units-wise? Melee infantry mostly wield spears and halberds, all the better to protect their ranged troops that form the most powerful force Grand Cathay has to offer. They also favor spellcasters, with alchemists and astromancers having equal levels of power on the battlefield. They employ a number of flying... I wonder if alchemists are like the lore of yin and astromancers are the lore of yang. That would probably make sense. Is that the two of them... I don't think they have like 4 types of characters. I think maybe that's what the 2 different wizard lores are called. Like, if you have one lore, you're an alchemist, and if you have the other lore, you're an astromancer. Or maybe they're both astromancers, and it's the other way. I don't know. They employ a number of flying units and can call upon the power of the terracotta sentinels if the situation warrants it. To back up their elite crossbowmen, artillery pieces, and war machines bring destruction to the battlefield. Grand Cathay is also one of the most populous nations in the old world, formed as it was from hundreds of tribes that gathered under the Celestial Dragon Emperor in years gone by. Thus, it has legions to call upon when needed, with the less trained forming a fragile but effective front line wielding weapons and riding horses as required. Though they are cheaper troops, their power level can far outstrip their cost when used in proper harmony. Of course, there are still many surprises to be found in this ancient land, and we'll have the full roster reveal for you over the course of the next couple weeks. That's all very exciting, but it's September, and I want to know more about the future of sieges and minor settlement battles. Understandable. As we go into details on the unique defenses of the Great Bastion that Grand Cathay can take part in, we'll also explain how sieges play in Total War Warhammer 3. Beyond that, well, you could probably guess from the trailer who gets the spotlight once Grand Cathay have had their moment in the sun. Of course, meaning Tzeentch. And then welcome back to Total War Warhammer 3. Grand Cathay is finally here, and they will stop at nothing to destroy the forces of Tzeentch, which Tzeentch is Tzeentch, for anyone that is not familiar with that, and protect their empire. We'll continue in earnest next week with a look at the lands, lore, and history of the mighty Eastern Empire. Wonderful. Mwah! Mwah! I'm really interested to learn more about the harmony mechanic. It really sounds like harmony is going to be super important to how to play your army, because you're going to have to, it sounds like you're going to have to like keep your units working in concert, as opposed to just making like the strongest thing you can and running it at your opponent. The Warhammer 3 website has some unique screenshots. There's a Warhammer 3 website? Huh. Look at that. I think I already have the screenshots you're talking about. Is it these screenshots? Oh, wait. I should probably move the scene. There you go. Is it these screenshots? All right. So, let's talk about units. We got so many units to talk about. So let's talk about everything that I've spotted so far. We've got our Dragon Horse Pegasus Riders. What are these called? Kyrian? I think someone was telling me. We've got Jezzails. We've got Cathayan Jezzails, which does make sense, as it's been heavily suggested that the Skaven stole a lot of their technology from other empires. Keelan? How do you... Okay, write a pronunciation. Kieran? Kaireen. Or Keyring. Okay, Keyring. I got it. We've got... I don't know what this thing is. The giant ball of jade soul energy that's pulled by horses. I have no idea what this is. It is some kind of, it looks like it's some kind of super device. It's probably an alchemical weapon. They've talked about that Cathay has alchemists, so it is Kieran for simple pronunciation. Thank you. So it's probably some kind of alchemy thing, though whether it's an offense. Oh, look, it's got like it's got these little like spheres or like holding things. I don't know if this is a weapon or a buff thing. I'm assuming this probably buffs units because it doesn't look like it has any fighters on it. It looks like it's literally just pulled by horses, and doesn't seem to be anyone controlling it. So I'm assuming it's some kind of buff piece. But we've got Jezzails. We've got, if we zoom in here, we've got a wizard shooting red fire out at all these blue horrors, which I'm assuming this is an alchemist, if I had to guess, based on how the fire looks. We've got spear and shield infantry. We've got sword and board infantry. We've got sword and board down here. We've got the giant terracotta sentinel. We got the Kirin riders. We've got the war balloons, the lantern, which, what a cool design, right? Can we talk about how badass this design is for a warship? Like, I'm so glad they went with war balloons, like, instead of maybe, because like this still lets the dwarfs have like the actual war zeppelin, which we hopefully get eventually, but a lantern war balloon is a very cool design. Very, very cool. And they've also got these just like big long rifles, but there's two kinds. There's two kinds of war balloons. One version of the war balloon just has like a single large lantern, and then there's this one that's got the doubles. But we've also got, let's see, is that everything in this screenshot for Cathay? We'll talk about Tzeentch in a little bit. Looking for anything else for Cathay that stands out. Looks like all these guys are just more spear and shield infantry. Okay. Obviously, we've got a city in the background. All right. Here we've just got some beautiful art, dude. Like, dude, I thought Three Kingdoms was pretty. Like, goddamn, dude. Cathay looks absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. It looks absolutely fantastic. Just beautiful. Where are the dragon monks? Not shown up yet. And then here's the brother. So this is what the Iron Dragon looks like when he's in dragon form. So you've got your goth Dommy mommy with Miao Ying, and then you've got Zhao Ling is the Iron Dragon, and it looks like he's all about fire instead of lightning. But he looks phenomenal. He looks absolutely phenomenal. I really like his design. It looks like he's incinerating some unfortunate furies of Tzeentch. Oh, look! You got god damn it, what are these things called? I keep wanting to call them defilers, but that's like the 40k thing. Soul grinders. You got soul grinders. You got Tzeentch soul grinders just hiding in the back there. Man, Cathay looks pretty. And then this is the final screenshot, which shows Miao Ying just going absolutely apeshit and just owning some dudes. Ah, she looks incredible, dude. Oh look, they've got like elf ears almost. I didn't notice that before. They got like little ears. Oh look, okay, look, we've got some like peasant infantry. There we go. We got peasants. We got peasant infantry back here with the hats. So we got peasant infantry with with spears or halberds in the hat and their little round hats. We've also got it looks like Cathay has a really interesting thing going on with male and female units, where you've got women wielding guns and boys fighting in close combat. Seems to be kind of the idea. Because you'll notice all of the Jezzails are women. And in the trailer, all of the rocket launchers are women. And it also looks like everyone inside of the war balloons are women. And then all of the melee units are men. Which is pretty cool. Pretty awesome. Good way to get some, an interesting mix in there. I think it looks super duper awesome. Also, I'm going to go ahead and unmute old Throt here, that way I don't miss alerts. Hawk Oddly, thanks again for the Prime sub, my dude. 16 months. Yeah, I know, dude. Storm Dragon Waifu, absolutely. Sure, Jen, good to see you. Okay. So, last thing we're going to talk about is Tzeentch units, and then we have so much lore to talk about, it's not even funny. So, we've got, for Tzeentch, we've got Chaos Furies, we've got Chaos Spawn, we've got Flamers of Tzeentch, which...
Hunt down those lizard trinkets.
The Flamers of Tzeentch look like they're either single entities, maybe, or they run in, like, packs of 2 instead of, like, packs of 6 or whatever. Well, I don't know. Over here, it looks like maybe there's a whole unit. Maybe that's an Exalted Flamer. Because notice how he's got purple flames? He's got purple flames holding him up, and the rest of the Flamers of Tzeentch have blue flames. So maybe that's an Exalted Flamer with the pink fire, and he's a character, so he's by himself. And then you've got the regular Flamers of Tzeentch, which is a unit. I bet that's what it is. Then we've got Blue Horrors as a unit. We've got Pink Horrors as a unit. God of War is coming to PC. Yeah, I heard about that. I heard Nvidia had a big leak about a whole bunch of games coming out in the future. We've got, and also if you look at the back, if you look way back here, you could see Chaos Knights of Tzeentch. So, Tzeentch has basic Chaos Knights back here, if you look really, really far away. So that's really cool. We've, of course, got, why you know, let me, oh, it's because I'm not, there we go. We've also got, Soul Grinders way down here. And here, we've got a closer look at the Soul Grinders. The Soul Grinders look like big boys. Big boys, lots of blue. How long am I planning on streaming? Probably the entire fucking day, just about. We've got regular Chaos Warriors of Tzeentch. It looks like there's some really awkward ones that have, like, one-handed weapons and no shield. I don't know what these guys are supposed to be doing. But then we've got a shielded variant as well. We got Shielded Warriors of Tzeentch. What is a Soul Grinder? A Soul Grinder is like... The TLDR on the Soul Grinder is it's basically a 40k monster that was in the Demons of Chaos book, and the whole thing about the Demons of Chaos is you're supposed to be able to take all the models in both armies. So they made it playable in fantasy. But the Soul Grinder is a demon that died, and it makes a bargain with this thing called the Forge of Souls, where it basically is grafted into a mechanical body, but it allows it to return to the world much faster than demons normally do. Here, and then we've got Forsaken of Tzeentch, which the Forsaken look absolutely fantastic. The Forsaken look gorgeous. With Tzeentch, the coloration with like the blue tip claws and stuff, very, very nice. Really like the way everybody's looking. And then in the trailer, of course, we had Kairos Fate Weaver revealed, along with, which is just awesome. Super nice to have Kairos confirmed. And not only is Kairos Fate Weaver confirmed, but they are once again using the Age of Sigmar demon variants, which I am so happy about. The Age of Sigmar demons are vastly superior to their fantasy counterparts. So, like, Kairos Fate Weaver looks so much better than Sartorial the Everwatcher. Sartorial the Everwatcher looks like complete ass next to Kairos. So I'm really, really excited to see all the new stuff. All right. Are we ready to discuss lore? Because there is so much lore. Here, let me put something in perspective for y'all real quick. I want to put something in perspective for y'all. Hold on. I want y'all to understand something important. Okay? I want you to understand something. I need you to appreciate why it is so critical that they use the AOS demons, not the fantasy demons. Because In Total War Warhammer, the Kairos Fate Weaver we got is this guy. God damn it. This is what we get in Total War Warhammer. This is AOS Kairos, right? This is Age of Sigmar Kairos. You want to see what fantasy Kairos looks like? That's fantasy Kairos. It's a little old lady with 2 heads that wears a diaper on her head and a raven skull on her other head. And she's got a fish on her staff. It's hideous. It's garbage. It should be buried beneath everything. Throw it in hell. Burn it. Burn it all to the ground. Absolute garbage. Hideous garbage. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. All right. So, without further ado, it's time. It's time. Big Aggie 72 and Cruisedo, thanks so much for the Ola Skinks. Welcome to the streams. Excellent to see you guys. Let's talk lore. Let's talk lore. There's a lot to discuss, and I want to really hop into it. No, Salaxi Hellbane is probably not going to be in, because Salaxi Hellbane is not a fantasy character, it's an AOS character. The fantasy Slaanesh Lord is probably going to be Nakari. Alright, so we have some pretty interesting stuff to talk about. The first thing is that they actually put in a really clever kind of throw, I guess, to the new lore right immediately in the trailer. So the very, very first thing we hear in the trailer is literally about the new lore. So listen carefully. Listen carefully to what Miao Ying says at the beginning. Listen very carefully.
From the stars came the will to shape fate, hurling this world toward ruin.
From the stars came the will to shape fate. Oh, here, I'm gonna put my head... Dude, isn't this such a beautiful background? Like, can we talk about how gorgeous this shot is? The Grand... I'm assuming this is the Grand Bastion, because it's freaking gigantic. But let's listen to that one more time. Let's listen to that one more time.
From the stars came the will to shape fate, hurling this world toward ruin.
She's talking about the old ones. She is throwing shade at the old ones. From the stars came the will to shape fate, hurling this world into ruin. So what we have learned is that now I want to be very clever. I want to give a huge round of applause to Andy Hall, who has been leading the charge on rewriting the lore of Cathay. I want to give him a huge round of applause, and I want to see clap emojis in chat for this man, because he was brilliant. Brilliant. Because he found a way to give Cathay interesting lore without retconning. It's not a retcon. A lot of people think it's a retcon, but it's not. It's super clever and very, very well slipped in under there of what exactly the relationship is between Cathay and the Old Ones. So, if we go back in time, back to the beginning, where all of this began, for better or worse, y'all know it's going to be a good day, a good Warhammer lore stream, when I'm pulling out books. We're pulling out books. If we go back to when all of this began, 10,000 years ago, before chaos existed, before the dark gods crawled into existence and started just busting shit up left and right, the Old Ones came to this world. The Old Ones came to this world well over 10,000 years ago. And when they arrived, they met other creatures on this planet. Because when the Old Ones arrived, we were dealing with the what is known as the time of dragons, which is that the world was dominated by dragons when the Old Ones first arrived. And the thing is that these dragons were so unfathomably ancient. They were so old that the dragons we know today, the Emperor dragons even. So we're talking about the biggest, baddest super dragons to ever exist are explicitly mentioned to be newborns compared to these dragons. So the question is, right, where did they go? Because what happens is that the Old Ones arrive on the planet and they talk to the dragons. Now, I have to put this in context for you, that the Old Ones are so powerful. Ty Blaine, welcome to the stream. Thanks so much for being here, my dude. The Old Ones are so unfathomably powerful. They are so mighty and beyond the ken of mortals that no mortal creature can handle being in their presence. If the Old Ones were to turn and try and talk to you, your brain would just, like, you're fucked. You're basically dead. You get zapped, right? Because you just can't handle this entity before you. The only entities that could talk to the Old Ones were the Slann of the first generation. So, like, Lord Mazdamundi never spoke to the Old Ones, because Mazdamundi, based on that he's a second generation, could not handle talking to the Old Ones. Real quick, I need some background music. Just something chill in the background. I just need something. I don't like sitting in silence. I just need it barely detectable. Okay, there we go. So, we have... So, the first generation Slann were the only people that could talk to the Old Ones. Just like Lord Croak. So, Lord Croak was the first of the first generation. So, Lord Croak was the first Slann to ever exist. And Lord Croak learned at the feet of the Old Ones and talked to them and knew them. As did the other first generations. Because there were 5 first generation Slann. But they were not the only creatures that could handle speaking to the Old Ones. The dragons could talk to the Old Ones. The ancient primordial dragons, the big bads, the greatest of the dragons to ever live, were so powerful, were so strong that they could talk to the Old Ones. We're talking about dragons that are so mighty and so immense that Krakenrock the Black was not a threat to them. And Krakenrock the Black is the father of the Dragon Ogre race. He is the size of a mountain. He's bigger than most mountains. He's this titanic Dragon Ogre Shaggoth. He's Kolek's daddy. And Krakenrock the Black was defeated by these guys. Like, Krakenrock the Black could not defeat them in the war for the world before the Old Ones arrived. So the Old Ones arrive on the planet, and the only sentient race that the Old Ones talk to and come to like are the dragons. So, Krakenrock the Black was old by the time the Old Ones showed up. He's already been fighting for God knows how long. Because he was fighting the wars against the dragons and was one of the dominant forces on the planet. He controlled the mountains. If you draw a line from like the ancient giant lands, if you start in the mountains of Morn and then go northwest, those were the lands of the dragon ogres. Kolek Suneater was already ancient by the time the Old Ones even popped up. Kolek Suneater already existed by the time the Old Ones showed up. So, from there, the Celestial Dragon Emperor is one of these dragons. He is, yes, the world was a Pangea. Yeah, it was all slapped together and the Old Ones changed a whole bunch of shit. So, the Old Ones show up on the planet and they're speaking to these dragons. But the thing is about the Old Ones is that, like Miao Ying tells us, they wanted to change fate. The Old Ones wanted to change the very course of destiny because they were starting to mess with powers they did not fully understand. And they wanted to control this alternate dimension that was made of pure energy. But the Old Ones didn't understand what they were messing with. And they basically ended up doing the equivalent of finding a giant Cthulhu-esque bear and poking it a whole bunch of times until they pissed it off. So the Old Ones see this planet, and in it they see the potential to defeat chaos once and for all. Because they see chaos as a rising threat, and when they look down the skeins of fate, the Old Ones understand that chaos is becoming a problem, and they need to create something that can stop it. So, they choose the Warhammer world, which originally was this ancient primordial land covered in ice. So, it's this giant icy ball that has a single large supercontinent. And the Old Ones decide to mess with things. They move the planet closer to the sun to warm it up. They break up the continent into a whole bunch of little continents to make it into a design that fits their great plan. And then they start, creating all these races and doing a whole bunch of stuff. But like, some of the Slann were around for that. Like, Lord Croak was around for the whole moving the sun, or moving the planet closer to the sun thing. I mean, Lord Croak, we're talking about a guy who is so powerful that breaking reality is within his sphere of influence while he was alive. And the Celestial Dragon Emperor is at that level of power, if not stronger. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people may sit there and go, oh God, why are they making the Celestial Dragon Emperor so strong? Why are they making him so ridiculous? The thing is, we know that the Celestial Dragon Emperor has been around for forever. He's been around for so hilariously long that it's just ridiculous. And I'm looking for the specific page. The hell is it? Hold on, I'll find it. We have a note a very specific little note about it. I gotta find it. Is it in this book, or is it in the book before this one? Where is it? Did I grab the wrong book? Maybe I grabbed the wrong book.
Another wretched foul lizard thing joins the red host. Cursed Sotek spawn.
Hey!
Absolute hyped after that trailer. Loved watching your reaction. Here's to another 13 months, my dude. Fist.
It's a good time to be hyped. It's a very good time to be hyped. Let's see. Where is it? I know there's a note. Gotta find it. Oh, there's Nangao. I was wondering about that. Where did I put that page? Am I missing a page? Oh, I bet I know it. I bet I know where it is. In here? In this book? Let's see. No, it isn't. Damn, what book is that page in? I'm gonna have to find it. There's a page that talks about much of the timeline of the Warhammer Fantasy Universe world. And one of the things that's so important to note is that the Dragon Emperor is actually one of the biggest actors in the early days of the Warhammer world. Is it 6th edition? This is 8th. That's 7th. 6th. Hold on, this is gonna bother me. Hope you're all doing well, by the way. I'm having a ball. Because there is so much good shit and so many things I am beyond excited to dive into. And for once, it's not super weird garbage. Like, don't get me wrong, I've been really enjoying the, like, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th edition stuff. which is pretty much the only like new lore that comes out anymore. But there's like some stuff about it that bothers the shit out of me because it changes a lot of the lore in some really not cool ways, in my opinion. Like, unless they put out a note saying otherwise, it seems like they've retconned like Volkmar the Grim out of the lore, and they're making Karl Franz out to be more like a villain. Which I just hate that shit, dude. I hate it. And it's because they're like trying to combine a bunch of different editions where there's like a ton of different information going on. This is not what I was thinking of. I appreciate the heads up. This is not the book I was wanting. Yeah. Thank you for the attempt, but that's not the book I wanted. There's something very specific I'm looking for. I'll find it later, I guess. But the thing is that the Celestial Dragon Emperor was one of the major actors that became that swooped into the world during the Great Cataclysm. So the Great Cataclysm happens, the polar gates at both sides of the planet explode, and the old ones die, right? The old ones are completely wiped out and they're killed, or at the very least they fled. But it seems much more likely that they died. So with the old ones defeated and killed, the world falls into chaos. And chaos starts attacking everywhere at once. And this is when the Celestial Dragon Emperor makes his move. Where the Celestial Dragon Emperor actually appears within Cathay, and he starts gathering up all of these different tribes of humans. So there's all these humans running around, and like shit's going crazy, and the Celestial Dragon Emperor conquers all of the tribes by showing that he is this divine power that is able to throw off the demons of chaos. Because the thing is that you have to remember about the Great Cataclysm is that during the Great Cataclysm, the demons could appear anywhere in the world without restriction. So the demons were titanic in size. They were at their strongest that they've ever been until the end times. Like, they were literally going all out and were flooding the world in all directions. And like the Lizardman Empire, which controlled a majority of the planet, was pushed all the way back to Lustria and the Southlands. But meanwhile, the Celestial Dragon Emperor pops up, and while all this is going, he unites all of these different human tribes under his authority, and he starts pushing chaos back. So the Celestial Dragon Emperor starts defeating the demons of chaos and pushing them back and back and back until he gets to a point where he is able to command the men of Cathay to construct the Great Bastion, which took a super duper long time. And that's the thing I was looking for. Is I don't remember what book it's in for the life of me, but there is a note somewhere in this book, I'm pretty sure, where it talks about when Cathay builds, when the Dragon Emperor runs out and starts uniting all the tribes of men. But for the life of me, I can't remember what page it's on. Because I mean, they are one of the oldest. They are the oldest empire of men. Like they're up there with they are beyond the oldest empire of men. Because we know that Cathay throws the meteor, the Great Maw, which was a giant warpstone comet that impacted the ogre race. Cathay threw it at them. Like, Cathay unleashes this horrific meteor that slams into the ogres' homelands and completely eradicates their race. With, like, I think it killed like 3/4 of them. And that happens so long ago that, like, Nehekara would not be around for another few hundred years. Like, or the city that would become Skaven Blight, which was supposedly the greatest city of men, though I guess that's still technically true because they didn't have outside help. But so you have all of this amazing stuff about how the Dragon Emperor really is and makes sense as one of the oldest powers on the planet, one of the oldest forms of authority. Like, the idea that he's a god makes sense. Like, it makes sense he's a god. There's a lot that lines up there and adds up. And I think that the lore edition makes perfect sense. I think upgrading the Celestial Dragon Emperor, giving him the wife of the Moon Empress, very clever. Because the Moon Empress, there are a lot of myths that follows the words. There are a lot of myths about, like, the moon and there being, like, a celestial court. And Bronze, what page is that on? What book, what page? Though that year, Warriors of Chaos, 7th edition. Interesting. That year is super off, though. At least by 8th edition. But, you know, guys, one loves doing. Gosh, I need to reorganize my schedule. How have I not been partnered yet? Getting Twitch partnered right now is kind of difficult, to be honest. It really seems like there was a good while where you could, like, they would literally accept anyone, but now it is a much... the thing is, there's no specifics to it, right? You just have to apply and just, like, hope you get a good response. There's no like specific numbers they're looking for or anything, so there's no guide or clear system. They just say yes or no, which is pretty frustrating, to be honest. Let's see. I need to apply again soon. It's like I don't know what the mystical rules are. All right, let's see. What Daddy wanted. Ordered lunch. And I miss how much lore was in 7th edition. They did such a fun job with it. Ah, here we are. Yep. Dragon Emperor unites the civilization of Grand Cathay in a great task that is to change the destiny of his nation forever. The Great Bastion, also known as the Dragon's Spine, is completed in under a century. 1/4 of a mile high. Good lord. So I guess we could use that as a good reference for what year what year they build the Great Bastion. Because we know that Cathay is established and throws the Great Maw at the ogres, which means Cathay has to be united under the Dragon Emperor by... But maybe he had not unified all of Cathay until 1800. Like, the date is completely wrong. But that little tidbit is right. Yeah, it has to be, like, at least 1,000 years before that, actually. At least. But, still interesting. Cold Rage. No. No. Do not bring that in here. We do not pay attention to the end times stuff. The end times stuff was a complete mess. Do not worry about it at all. Because it does not make sense. It literally makes sense under no circumstances. So absolutely do not bring that up. Because it opens just an impossible can of worms. The old ones are an alien race of unfathomable godlike powers. They come to the planet. The planet already has all these dragons, and now we know, thanks to this corrections/retcon, that the Celestial Dragon Emperor is one of these ancient dragons, and probably one of the strongest. Him and his wife, the Moon Empress, seems to be just straight, is a brilliant addition, but there's tons and tons of myth, and I know a lot, at least China and Japan, they have a lot of mythology about the moon. And there's a lot of legends about, like, individuals, like a celestial court and women, stuff like women that came down from the moon and fell in love with people, or there being, like, a prince that came down from the moon or whatever. So gonna be diving into a lot of that to maybe get some ideas on the Moon Empress. But it seems that, but when they all come down there, you get this, the old ones then busy themselves. They create the lizardmen, first and foremost. The lizardmen, they create the Slon to start. Slon helped them do a whole bunch of stuff. Cold Rage. So here's the thing, dude. Here's the thing. Canon, there is no such thing as a true canon in Warhammer Fantasy. Doesn't exist. Games Workshop has specifically stated this, that the official stance by Games Workshop on canon is that the canon is whatever you want it to be. And the reason they have that stance is because it doesn't make sense. You cannot say that everything's canon because there's too many conflictions. So in order for the lore of Warhammer Fantasy to make sense, the end times explanation from Lilith cannot be canonical. But I'll tell you how it is canon. What is canon is that Lilith in the end times went completely insane. She went beyond insane because she is a goddess of prophecy, and she literally saw the end of the world coming. Lilith is doomed with all of this knowledge about what's going to happen to the world and what's going to happen to all of her people, and that all that she knows and loves is going to be consumed in a hellish hellscape that wipes out anything and everything in existence. So, because Lilith is literally going out of her mind, she concocts this scheme to try and save just the elves from the apocalypse, because she decides that's ultimately all that matters. And while she is completely going insane, she gives this bizarre, strange idea of where the elven gods came from. She's completely wrong, of course. What Lilith says is completely impossible. There's literally zero chance that anything she's saying is correct. Because we have 100% evidence of stuff that came before her of what actually happened. So Lilith is just completely batshit crazy. So, like, I guess if you want to be like, well, Lilith said that, but that's not the truth. That's not, like, the actual lore of the Warhammer Fantasy universe. The old ones are not elven gods from a prior reality. That's completely dipshit. That's beyond dipshit. That is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. And it literally is contradicted by virtually everything written in the lore of every other race. So do not treat that as truth. That is not at all correct. Like, bringing it up is literally just, like, baiting to get people angry. There's no, like, it's not even worth talking about. Like, coming into a conversation be like, the old ones were elven gods from a prior universe. Like, if you say that, you're just acting in bad faith. Don't even bring it up. Don't even bring it up. Because it just messes with people and, like, adds a lot of confusion. Is the end times canon? Yes. Does it have a lot of problems? Yes. Is it being retconned in Age of Sigmar? Yes. So, moving on. We have, no, Age of Sigmar has confirmed that the old ones are not elven gods. They are different gods. What are the elven gods? So the elven gods, from what evidence we have, the elven gods are traditional gods. So they are the elves' interpretations of the old ones. Just like the Nehekaran gods are the Nehekaran's interpretation of the old ones. Because in Warhammer, I'm actually about to start a video series on this because I have a book that goes really into detail on it. But the kind of the laws of reality in the Warhammer Fantasy universe are that if enough people believe in a concept as a god, right? Enough people are worshiping a deity of some sort. Their interpretation of that deity, their concepts, their faith will cause a entity to become reality within the realm of chaos. And they gain the ability to kind of carve out their own universe, so to speak, their own reality within that pocket. So the elven gods are the primary emotional and faith pillars of the elves as a species. Sigmar, we have a, like I said, it's going to come up in this series. We have a very awesome document written by Volkmar the Grim about how Sigmar becomes a god. And the concept is that Sigmar as a man was so inspirational and powerful and pulling off all this crazy amazing stuff that when he died, normally, because he was, for the most part, human, though I think he's a little bit more than that, but he dies, right? And when Sigmar dies, a whole bunch of people that he left behind in the Empire start a cult worshiping him. So they all start worshiping Sigmar, and this ends up leading to Sigmar's essence ascending to godhood. But what makes Sigmar unique among the gods is that he was an entity who actually lived a mortal life and then became a god. Which Volkmar makes the argument that makes Sigmar the god most worthy of worship because he's unique in that instance. People did not worship Tzeentch. Tzeentch the Imperishable was much, but he did not claim to be a god, and after he died, he was not worshipped as a god. Tzeentch was deeply respected, but Tzeentch also, when Tzeentch died, most of his closest followers were buried alive or ritually sacrificed and mummified along with him. So he didn't really leave a whole bunch of people around behind him. Tzeentch was not too big on the whole be a god person. Cal Firma, we already looked at it. We checked it. Oh, wait. Hold on. Let me. You say... Sorry, it doesn't let links get posted in chat. Let me pull up... Did they post another article? So there's the... I'm not seeing this new article. I do... someone actually did message me about the Longma, which the Longma makes absolute sense. A fabled winged horse with dragon scales. Literally... Oh, it's a third-party website. Hey, Califirma, if you would, message me on Discord. It's super easy to message me on Discord, or you can private message me here on Twitch. Either way works. If you want to send me that article. Thanks. All right. Yeah, okay, that actually works better because I've seen people talking about how the keyrin, or like if it was the keyrin, like they did some stuff wrong. The Longma is a literal 1-to-1 mix. The Longma makes much more sense. Longma dong. Yeah, this makes much more sense. Because to my understanding, the keyrin did not have bat wings or dragon wings, but these do have wings. They're not keyrin. They're not keyrin. The dragon Pegasi are Longmas. I just posted the Wikipedia in chat. They are not keyrin. So I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, they changed the keyrin. They're wrong." Well, they're not keyrin, so don't worry about it. Did the dwarves know the ancestor gods as well? The ancestor gods vaguely knew the old ones, but it is heavily implied that it is very heavily implied that the ancestor gods never met the old ones. But instead that the old ones basically left for them a gift. Because there's this other realm that's called the Glittering Realm, and the Glittering Realm is the birthplace of the ancestor gods. We know it's somewhere around Karak Zorn, but it is this alternate dimension where the dwarves learned many of their greatest secrets. So like the dwarves learned rune making in the Glittering Realm because of something that was in there. And like much of the knowledge they attained about all the things that they brought with them was that they learned it in there. And it seems heavily implied that basically what the old ones did is they created the ancestor gods and they put them to sleep. They weren't awake yet. Kind of similar to Tolkien's mythos. And they put them inside the Glittering Realm with everything they would need to be able to survive and thrive, and then they allowed them to wake up and kind of make their own destiny. And they just kind of watch from the shadows. Yeah, the dragon characters are probably going to do what Malice does, I imagine, when they transform. It'll probably be like a button you click and it lets you turn into your dragon form. Get ready for the boom balloon. I'm not sure how I feel about the Pantheon lore as a casual / newest consumer. One of the parts I struggle with in Warhammer is the power creep / playground fight element. Well, Linkfire, the important thing to note is that there are so many gods in Warhammer, dude. There are so many gods. And there are things that become gods on a very regular basis. It is actually relatively easy to create a god in Warhammer if you know the secrets behind it. Though creating a god intentionally, there's actually a really funny lore note about people that have tried to do that and it did not work out well. But the idea that the Celestial Dragon Emperor has ascended to godhood, or maybe has always been that level of godhood power, makes complete sense. But that also explains why it really would not make sense for him to be on the battlefield. If you have the Celestial Dragon Emperor running around the battlefield, you're dealing with an entity that is on par with like Lord Croak when Lord Croak was alive. And when Lord Croak was alive, Lord Croak was literally the kind of Slawn that could cast spells that would kill millions of demons. I'm not millions. Millions. I mean, that's obscene, right? The Celestial Dragon Emperor should not be on the battlefield. And his wife being the Moon Empress, it is very, very likely that his wife is a literal spiritual incarnation of the moon itself. Because there's two moons in Warhammer. I know a lot of people have been kind of memeing about Moonclaw in the chat, but like there's two moons, right? There's the natural moon, which is called Mansalib. That's our moon, big white moon. Mansalib is the larger moon, and it's the natural moon, the healthy moon. The one that works very nicely with astromancy, and it allows you to see the future, and it's pure, and it like purifies evil, and it synergizes with like wholesome life. That is the Moon Empress. Regal, beautiful, powerful, elegant, right? So having these two forces combined, we have this yin and yang. We have this celestial dragon god and a moon spirit, a moon empress, making babies. This is just a hardcore ship. It's a power ship. And their kiddos are still very powerful. They are these immensely powerful dragons that can turn into humans and back. And they're also powerful sorcerers. Very cool. And I think they'll make fantastic legendary lords. But in that scenario, I do not see a reason for the Celestial Dragon Emperor and the Moon Empress to be playable. Because they're just very, very up there. They're very up there. Alright, Calfirma, thanks so much. Have a great day. Oh, it's a Game Watcher article. Let's see. Power of Yin and Yang, Lords of Magic, two legendary lords. Oh yeah. There actually is some new information here. So, on this Game Watcher article, we have some new info that says, so we know Miao Ying controls the north, but it says Zhao Ming, the Iron Dragon,
foul lizard thing joins the red host. Cursed Sotek spawn.
Thank you. I'll check that out in just a second. Zhao Ming, the Iron Dragon, was entrusted with the western part of the Empire, where he keeps the desert clans in order, even as other dragons question the sanity of their brother. Interesting. So it seems that Zhao Ming is a little off. In terms of playstyle, favors defense, built to stand their ground and grind the enemy down through defense and firepower. At the same time, harmony has a major impact on their effectiveness. The longer they fight as a single and efficient organism, the bigger the bonus is they can unlock. Whereas units like Jade Warriors and Celestial Dragon Guard make up their sturdy core, massive terracotta symbols. The Wuxing War Compass? What is a Wuxing War Compass? Is that the giant bubble thing we saw? And then the Great Jade Longma Riders. Hey! Anyone big on Chinese mythology? What the hell is a Wuxing war compass? I didn't see this part. I think it's the green thing. Hold on, let me send this to a guy I know. Let me send this to one of my guys. Wuxing, usually translated as 5 phases, is a 5-fold conceptual scheme that many traditional Chinese fields use to explain a wide array of phenomena, from cosmic cycles to the interaction between internal organs, and from succession of political regimes to the properties of medicinal drugs. Okay, sounds like more harmony stuff. Sounds like even more harmony goodies. Yeah, I think it's that giant green ball. Yeah, the war altar piece. Okay. Oh! Based on what we read about the harmony mechanic, could be a buff unit designed to empower the harmony of stuff around it. Oh yeah, that makes sense. That does make sense. Maybe to like further it along or give it bigger buffs. Because it sounds like to me the harmony mechanic is going to be a defensive version of the like the enrage mechanic. So like where Norska has it where like the longer they're in combat, the more buffs they get. I wonder if it's going to be that the harmony mechanic is the longer they all remain in like formation and like are perfectly holding onto each other and stuff, and everyone's like doing their big thing, is they get more buffs. Because it seems like they're going to be an army that very heavily rewards you for playing in formation. Though I do like the note that they're going to be they're fairly slow. It sounds like they are not going to have a lot of cavalry. Like, it sounds like they're going to have some, like, really cheap peasant horses, maybe with, like, bows or crossbows. And then, like, they've got what do they call them? The jade, oh, I already forgot. The jade, it's not the jade blade, it's the jade something. Alright. Do I think the Celestial Dragon Emperor and the Moon Empress will operate similar in game to Finnebar does for the High Elves? I imagine they will, yes. I imagine you'll have, like, political intrigue. Because it sounds like there are multiple dragons, like there are a lot of dragons. Especially because one thing I noticed is that they said they have dragon-blooded sorcerers, right? So it sounds like all of the wizards may be descendants of the dragons. Because, like, one of the big things, right, is that in a lot of Chinese, when the Chinese mythology is adapted to a medium, it's a really big trope in Chinese mythology for the emperor to have like shitloads of kids, right? And depending on like where the kid's position is in the hierarchy, they have like more or less powers. So I'm thinking it could be that maybe all of the characters, like all of the magical characters have dragon blood in them. But depending on how much dragon blood they have in them, maybe they're like a different level of power. So your legendary lords can literally turn into dragons because they have so much. But maybe your regular lords and your heroes that are wizards are like, they're just not as powerful. Maybe they don't have as much dragon blood. So they can cast magic, but they cannot turn into dragons, for instance. So because one of the articles we've read talks about how there are multiple dragons, like many dragons, who all are, you know, looking over at the dragon in the west, Zhao Ming, and wondering like, hey, is he okay? Like, he's kind of going off the deep end. I was surprised not to see a Wukong type character. I think Wukong just makes very good DLC. He just makes excellent DLC. Because the thing about DLCs is that they're really, really good. For DLC lords, is that your DLC lords tend to be best when they come with a theme, right? So if you come running in with Sun Wukong as a playable legendary lord, he could do very, very nicely as a DLC lord, because he comes in with, like, you know, maybe other bestial units. So he has like monkey warriors, or you know, other like bestial creatures that are not chaos affiliated, but they're, you know, they're willing to work with the Celestial Dragon Emperor. Or maybe they're kind of like a more neutral force, though they tend to side with Cathay. But you know, it's difficult to see how that would play out. I don't know if they're gonna keep the Eshin connection. Like Cathay, in the older lore, Cathay used to be very heavily implied to be like sympathetic to Tzeentch, to the point that I don't remember which edition it was, but I want to say in either 6th or 7th edition, there used to be lore that very heavily insinuated that there were Tzeentchian cabals in Cathay, because Games Workshop went through this weird phase where they basically were like, oh, okay, so all the Western humans in like Europe equivalent are like good guys, and then everyone else has Tzeentch cults. Literally everybody. Araby had Tzeentch cults. Cathay had Tzeentch cults. Nippon had Tzeentch cults. Like, it was just all over the stupid place, and it was super annoying. And that no longer seems to be the case. Because now they're flat out stating that like Xianqi, which is Tzeentch's name in Cathay, is the mortal enemy of Cathay, and that Cathay is going all out to try and kill Xianqi, which I think is just much more interesting. Tzeentch cults being in every single human culture as like a thing that you can deal with, or as like a part of the culture, except with the exception of like the Empire in Bretonnia, was super dumb. Yeah, I've seen the second Legendary Lord. Actually, if y'all want to look at his picture, I have it right here. There's that, if y'all wanted to look at it. So we got Miao Ying here, and then we got Zhao Ming, the Iron Dragon, who apparently is kind of crazy. Which I am, man, I can't wait to play with these two. They look super badass. I love that their eyes are white. Like, they almost look like they're blind. And I guess that's to kind of show that they're not actually human. Just dragons pretending to be human. But, very, very cool design. I love his getup. Also, his dude's just, like, casually got his hands on fire. Oh, they look so good, dude. They look so good. They look so good! I hope their animation will not be silly like the new lizard dragon was. Oh, the Quaddle? I don't know about the rumors that the Quaddle is a test for the Cathay dragons. I doubt that is the case. Because the Total War Warhammer 2 DLC team usually is not the same team that's going to be working on Warhammer 3 for a lot of this time. So it's doubtful the teams were overlapping to like test out a feature per se. But yeah, hopefully it does look a lot better. No Boris and no Emperor. No complaint, all new to me, but why do you think you're doing it this way? So Big Aggie 72, first of all, there is a law on this channel. There is a law, a rule, something that we enforce with very, very strict authority, which is that Boris lives. Boris Boca is still alive. Don't let anybody fool you. Don't let anybody lie to you. Don't believe all that bullshit. Will you lose your mod privileges if you say Boris is dead? Yes, you will be fired immediately. and then you will be taken out back behind the shed and dealt with properly. Boris Boca lives. Anyone who says otherwise is an agent of the dark powers. Do not listen to them. They are liars and fools all. Boris Boca still lives, and he will return when we need him most. He will return to us when we need him most. Are the Ice Guard the only reason people think Kislev is too high fantasy? That's what I've heard. I don't understand that argument. The idea that Kislev is too high fantasy makes literally zero sense to me. I've never understood the argument. What about Elspeth? Fuck Elspeth. Get out. There's the door. Let yourself out. Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. I don't want your marks on it. Ugh, Elspeth. Yeah, well, high fantasy, in defense of those people, I will say that high fantasy could be a very confusing term if you're not, like, super familiar with the idea. Like, because a lot of people define it as, I think low fantasy is literally, like, our world / reality with, like, very, very little adjustments. And then high fantasy is literally anything that does not fall in that sphere, which is way too fucking broad. Like, high fantasy is just a grotesquely broad, term, that I think is useless because of how broad it is. Like, taking, like, Lord of the Rings, Age of Sigmar, and Warhammer Fantasy and putting them all in the same room and being like, high fantasy, is absurd. It's literally absurd. Because in that case, it's like, okay, so low fantasy is basically just like young adult novels, and everything else is high fantasy. Like, I'm not saying that the term is invalid. I'm just saying that it's mostly useless in today's literature, just because there's so much fantasy lore. There's so much fantasy lore. Am I a simp for the Dragon Lady? I would sell my soul and everything else that I own and commit terrible, terrible acts to simply be the house husband to Miao Ying. Thank you for coming to this TED Talk. That's shit. Probably gonna be my first legendary lord. I'm gonna be honest. I really did not think I was gonna be super into Cathay, but like I am super into Cathay. Like yeah. Okay, so yeah, let's get some opinions from chat. I've been wobbling on long enough, right? What do y'all think? Let's make it easy. Let's start a poll. Let's start a poll. Let's do a couple polls. We're gonna be gathering some data, chat. Let's gather some data. Do you think Cathay turned out? Yes. No. Okay, first poll. First poll. Do you think Cathay turned out well? Like, do you like Cathay? We'll get into some more nitty-gritty stuff, but let's start off with the simplest one. Children of the Old Ones versus Cathay DLC. You know, the funny thing is, I think despite the fact that Cathay has a lot of irritation towards the Old Ones, I feel like they still liked the Old Ones. Like, when the Old Ones initially arrived on the planet, I think that I think that it's very likely the Dragon Emperor and the other dragons really liked them, and thought that and were sympathetic to their cause. But at the same time, I think now that they have had to live for thousands of years with the consequences of the Old Ones' actions, that they hate the Old Ones. Understandably. But I actually do think that Cathay and the Lizardmen would have a lot in common, as far as, like, that they both want to destroy chaos. But I definitely think that the Lizardmen wanting to fulfill the Great Plan would cause a lot of tension with Cathay. I do not think Cathay would be even remotely interested in helping them fulfill the Great Plan. But they would definitely be bros against Chaos, until Chaos was defeated, at least. What did the... what wiped out the dragons? Nothing wiped out the dragons. When the Old Ones moved the Warhammer world closer to the sun to heat it up, and to make it less into, like, an icy realm and more, like, verdant and, you know, like our world is now, you know, where it can have all types of different terrain and environments and stuff. Because the warm got much, much warmer, the dragons, many of the ancient dragons found it not to their liking. It was unpleasant. So it kind of resulted in many of them becoming very torpid and slothful. And they all basically retreated into different places in the world and went to sleep. So they, like, buried themselves deep beneath the ocean or deep within the mountains or wherever, and have been slumbering ever since. Who created the greenskins? We don't know. The greenskins are literally an invasive species. When the Old Ones came to the Warhammer Fantasy planet, they actually had greenskin spores attached to the outside of their ships. And those spores ended up, like, coming down on the planet and creating orcs and goblins. And they started spreading like wildfire, which was a huge problem. We don't know where they came from outside of that. So either the Old Ones created them somewhere else, or the greenskins were native to a planet that the Old Ones visited, and they accidentally brought them with them. Why did Krakenrock go to sleep? Because he was tired. Presumably. How did Morsalib come to be? So when the polar gates exploded, the northern polar gate was significantly larger. And when the northern polar gate detonated, all of that horrible, just titanic amounts of raw energy and chaos power, basically there was so much of it that it imploded, and as a lot of chaos was going out, the greatest chunks of it coalesced together. And because dark magic like attracts like. Dark magic is drawn into itself, and attracts other dark magic. And so all of this chaos nastiness got all crushed together, and just like forming a star, all of this energy and residue compacted so hard that it birthed a giant meteor of warpstone, a giant satellite of warpstone. And this giant warpstone moon, because it was in the planet's orbit, it basically got caught up in the orbit of the moon, and so now it just cycles around the planet. Though the warpstone moon is very, very, very heavily implied to have it to be sentient. It is vaguely alive in the sense that it has given birth to a child, which is Moonclaw, and it also it has an erratic orbit. So it's completely unpredictable where it's going to go. You don't know, like, if it's going to get really close to the planet, really far away from the planet. You don't know how fast it might move faster one night or slower another night. It's super messy and all over the place. And it's known by many names. Humans call it Morslib. It's the Chaos Moon to, like, the Skaven. It's known as, like, the Imposter Moon, or the Second Moon to the ancient races like Cathay and the Lizardmen, and the High Elves, or just the elves in general. It's known as the Bad Moon to the Greenskins, and the Night Goblins they're moderately fans of it, because it is more sympathetic to them. Not to be confused with the Bad Moon in Age of Sigmar. The Bad Moon in Age of Sigmar is a totally different thing. They share the same name, totally different entities. They are not the same. Don't get confused by that. the Bad Moon in Age of Sigmar is an actual god and is very, very different than Morsalib in Warhammer Fantasy. They just share the same title. Oh, Charlie the Turtle. I would love to get Moonclaw in game. I think Moonclaw would make an amazing legendary hero. Is there any lore on how Grimgor invaded Cathay? No. So the only thing we know about Cathay, which is very, very vague in the end times, is basically they say something along the lines of, so the Skaven invaded Cathay, which hurt, but they survived. And then Chaos invaded Cathay, which hurt, but they survived. And, like, when we say Chaos invaded Cathay, we mean, like, a lot of their biggest, baddest champions got involved. So, like, apparently Galrach was there. A lot of the characters that, like, made random cameo appearances in the end times were there. So, like, Cathay was fighting all these super jazzed and juiced Chaos characters. And then they managed to beat them back or something. And then, apparently, Grimgor Ironhide showed up with his Beast Wa. So it wasn't just, so it was Grimgor at the head of his entire Greenskin army, which was like massive, like horizon to horizon size. And by this point, he had already unified all of the ogre tribes under him. So we have, that's his Beast Wa. So this is like all the ogres, most of the Greenskins combined into one super army. And Grimgor has already consumed the Wind of Beasts. So he's the incarnate of the lore of Beast. He's basically a demigod. And he goes running in there to Cathay, who's already fought off like 3 or 4 invasions. And he finishes them off, supposedly. But like I said, it's literally like a single sentence. That's all it is. Because Games Workshop did not give a shit about their universe at the end. What happens if somebody tries to awake one of the ancient dragons? You'd probably fail, because waking them up is very, very difficult. And if you succeeded, they would probably just kill you. And who knows, some of them may have been dead, or a lot of them may have just simply died off. Games Workshop, if you want to know what the end times is in a nutshell, the end times is functionally like, imagine if you filled an entire city end to end with Chekhov's guns, and you didn't fire, and you only fired like 10 of them. That was the end times. I really hope they'll incorporate jade-blooded vampires somewhere down the line. If jade-blooded vampires ever do make an appearance, which would be cool, don't get me wrong, they would almost assuredly be an addition to the vampire counts as like some kind of unit, or maybe a new bloodline lord that you could unlock. I don't think you would see them as a part of Cathay. You really gonna betray Greases? Oh, I forgot about Greases. Oh no! I'm gonna have to pick between Greases and Miao Ling? Oh no! I don't know. Oh god. Dude, Warhammer 3. If Warhammer 3 has ogres in at the start, which seems likely, there's gonna be like 13 fucking legendary lords in the game. At launch. 13! Jesus Christ. Oh. Oh, thanks for the stretch. Do I think the Gash is going to get his new Nighthawk type units when he comes? I have no idea. I try not to expect anything. That way I can't be disappointed or surprised. Bronze Emperor, thanks for coming to the stream, my dude. How did Skarsnik contact and convince the ogres to betray the dwarves in the battle? Jin. Skarsnik found out that the ogres were there because of all his spies, because Skarsnik controls most of Karakate Peaks by the time of the end times, or at least most of like the overland where Golgfag Maneater was hanging out, and he sent his shaman Duffskull to go talk to them. We actually have it as like a written part, because they Skarsnik gives Golgfag Maneater the crown of the Dwarf King of Karagate Peaks, because he's had it this entire time. And he gives it to Golgfag Maneater as payment to betray the dwarves. Is there any mention on how... Okay, we already talked about that. Grimgor, the new Legendary Lord Dragons are new. But we've always heard, like, things about dragons in Cathay. Like, we know Chaos has fought many of them and killed a number of them. Ubaldo 1701, welcome to the stream. Thanks for being here, my dude. Could the Celestial Court be with a lot of old powerful dragons? Yeah, I hope so. Vigario Pro, thanks for the comment. I really hope they have like a really cool intrigue system where we're dealing with like other dragons and stuff. Papa Scorch 73, thanks so much for coming to the stream. Good to see you, my dude. Johnny Thorson, thanks for the hydrate. Miss Solora, thanks for the stretch. Lafano, so is there any chance existing dragons could potentially rival the power of the two dragon siblings revealed for Cathay? Oh, definitely. Like, I absolutely believe that, like, the Star Dragons of Ulthuan can definitely go toe-to-toe with the Dragons of Cathay. The Dragons of Cathay are wizards, which give them a distinct advantage, but the thing about the Star Dragons is they have the elves. Like, the Star Dragons have friends that are their riders. So, like, it's not just Androgner versus Miao Ling. It's Androgner with Emmerich on his back versus Miao Ying. So, like, that, so she's got magic and some powerful abilities, but the Star Dragons may be physically stronger than them. I actually would not be surprised if they say that the Star Dragons are, like, physically more powerful. But we'll see. And, like, Galroch is still a force to be reckoned with. Galroch is the first of the Chaos Dragons. He's the father of the Chaos Dragons. Galroch is a beast. And he is also an incredibly powerful sorcerer. So, I could easily see Galroch being a problem causer. For them. Like, Galroch versus the Cathay Dragons would be super badass. Are the Dragons of Cathay not going to just be a standard unit? I have no idea. Maybe. Like, the Cathayan Dragons might be, like, generic characters. Not just Legendary Lords. So it could be, like, their Legendary Lords or Dragons, and then they also have, like, a Lord variant. Or a hero variant, I have no idea. Because we know they have dragon-blooded sorcerers, but we don't know to what extent. We don't know, like, how active their dragon blood is. What Ungol legendary lord do you think they would add to Kislev?
Son of a wretched, foul lizard thing joins the red host. Cursed Sotek spawn.
Oh, geez, I've missed him. Sean Lee, 2193, thanks so much for your tier 1 sub, dude. Thank you very much for the support. Alpha of the Lycans, welcome to the red host, my dude. Thank you very, very much for the tier 1 sub. And Giga Golgantes, welcome to the red host. Please enjoy the emotes, more of the community and stuff. If they do a Ungol legendary lord, they've got to do Baba Yaga, dude. They need to make Warhammer's Baba Yaga. Because for some reason, we don't have a Baba Yaga in Warhammer Fantasy. Like, the concepts of Babas exist. Like, Hag Mothers and Hag Witches are a very well-explored part of the lore. We know a lot about them. But we don't know... There's no super powerful Baba Yaga. There's not, like, the queen of the Hag Mothers. You know, the Hag Matriarch. The Hag Matriarch. And I think that would be a kick-ass legendary lord. I'll get that Yuri shit out of here. Get that Yuri shit out of here. Maybe they'll do the Slawn/Vampire Lords unlock for Dragon Lords/Heroes. Maybe. Could be that maybe you have to, like, acquire the other dragons. I'm pretty sure Yuri's either just gonna turn into a demon prince or Be'lakor's gonna possess him and take over his body, and that's how Be'lakor's gonna manage to physically manifest himself. Why am you the only one who wants Yuri? Because Yuri's a footnote character. Making Yuri a legendary lord is like making Helman Gorst a legendary lord, okay? Except for Gorst had more lore than Yuri did. Which is, to say, not a lot. Will Baba Yaga have a house mount? It'd be hilarious. I would not be upset if she did. So it's 100% confirmed, is what you're saying. Oh, Corncob, yeah. Similar names. Yeah, Be'lakor the Dark Prince. I'm feeling vaguely confident that I would not be surprised if Be'lakor is the one who causes whatever the hell's going on in Warhammer 3. Like, the lore event that causes Warhammer 3 to happen, I would be not surprised if Be'lakor is the one responsible for it. Is it possible that Morgur went to Cathay during his life? Yeah, that's totally possible. Do you mean the Dragon Twins are Dreadsaurian food? They can be, absolutely. Dreadsaurian don't take shit from no dragon. So will Be'lakor get pwned by Gotrek? Well, he did once, so I don't see why he wouldn't again. Do you think they will make Nippon a playable faction? I think it depends on how well Total War Warhammer 3 sells. I think if Total War Warhammer 3 makes absolute bank and it's like beyond the most popular game and is like just raking in money and Games Workshop is like, no, we need more, then you will see Nippon, you will see End. I think the Southern Realms will have a distinct possibility. Koresh, the Naga of Koresh could make it. The Hobgoblin Khanate seems likely, or at least possible. Chaos Dwarfs, obviously. Maybe fish people? Why not? Let's go for gold. Is there any info on the Greenstone raids at Cathay? No. You need Ogre Nippon Ninjas? That would be pretty amazing, wouldn't it? Sea Elves? No, that's AOS. We have to have disgusting Cthulhu fish people, not pretty bald Sea Elves. Thankful versus Be'lakor, who fails miserably? That's a great question. That's an awesome question. Man, maybe we'll do that for this week's Who Would Win in Lorebeards. Thankful versus Be'lakor, but it's like, which one of them would stumble into the least worst loss? Because obviously they would both lose. That would be super funny. Failure speedrun. I want to see the analog of Koshie. Koshie the Deathless. I actually just watched a video about him. I literally, like, was on my way home and just had, like, YouTube auto playing while I was driving so I could have something to listen to, and that came up, was a video about that guy, and I was like, oh, this guy's kind of cool sounding. I don't know, Kostalton kind of reminds me of him, in a sense. Like, a guy who's just, like, super hard to kill. Kroak versus the Celestial Dragon Emperor. If Kroak was alive, I think it would be a good fight. Kroak as he is now would not stand a chance. How did Felix die? He asphyxiated. He ran out of oxygen, which was a pretty horrible way to kill him, to be honest. Because Gotrek, they were on a flying dwarf Karak in the sky, where there was a third portal to the Realm of Chaos that Be'lakor was trying to open, that has been defended all of this time and sealed shut by Grimnir. So Gotrek took Grimnir's place so that Grimnir could go fight with the rest of the dwarves. So Grimnir gave Gotrek both of his axes. And Gotrek runs off in the Realm of Chaos and Felix dies. Because Felix gets caught in a cave-in when Gotrek goes through and he runs out of oxygen and he dies. Have I read the Gotrek AOS books? Yes, I have. Absolutely. They're great. Lazy Captain, thanks so much for the stretch redeem. Oh, trust me, the Karak in the sky is by far the least offensive part of the end times. Not even remotely offensive compared to some of the other stuff. When do I think Felix will show up in AOS? I don't know if he ever will, to be honest. I think the problem with Gotrek in Age of Sigmar that I really worry about is that I feel like Games Workshop has this unfortunate idea that Gotrek is not Gotrek unless he's always chasing some carrot he'll never get. And so to have him meet up with Felix again would also require them to get rid of Malineth, more than likely, because they usually like Gotrek to only have one or two companions. And Felix and Malineth, I mean, I guess Felix and Malineth could exist at the same time. But, like, if you brought Felix back, I feel like that would be threatening Malineth's position. And unfortunately, in my opinion, Games Workshop much prefers Malineth, even though I hate Malineth. I hate Malineth so much, it's not even funny. She's so annoying. All she does is, like, make the book take longer. And I hate it. I hate it so much. Where does the Silk Road lead to? Like, what factions are around the Silk Road? Here, I'll show you. I'll show you. The Silver Road is actually one of the easier things to track. It's not the Silk Road. Well, I say that, but I'm gonna pull up a map that I can actually zoom in on. It won't just, like, break down. Man, why don't people upload good images to the internet anymore? You remember, like, back in the day when you used to be able to Google, like, an image and you'd pull up, like, a super high quality one you can zoom up on? You can't do that anymore. Like, all the images that exist on the internet are, like, fucking garbage now. And, like, you get even moderately zoomed up and they just completely fall apart. So stupid. Alright, so. Here's the Warhammer world, right? This is the Warhammer world. So, can y'all see my mouse? It's a little small, but y'all can make it out. So, the Silk Road, or the Silver Road, as it's known. The Silver Road starts over here in Talea, and it goes over this way, up here, just beneath Karazakarak, and then you pop out right here past Karasakarak, and you go into the Darklands. And generally what happens is you go through the center of the Darklands till about here. And once you get in like this ballpark right here, it splits. And one of the splits goes south, which is called the Spice Road. And the Spice Road takes you across the River Ruin, through Noblar country, south of the Mountains of Morn, and you just keep following the coast until you arrive in the Kingdoms of End. So you go, that's how you get to End, right? You go through the Spice Road right here. If you want to take the, if you want to go to Cathay, you follow the Silver Road through the center of the Darklands, and when it splits, you keep going east. So you go east along what's known as the Ivory Road, and the Ivory Road cuts straight through the Mountains of Morn through a valley. And this valley is controlled by the Goldtooth tribe, which is Grease's Goldtooth. Grease's Goldtooth has become the wealthiest ogre there is because he extracts horrendous tolls on anyone that tries to come through his land. But he will let you through, and he will protect you. So you follow the Ivory Road through the Mountains of Morn, through the ancient giant lands, right here, north of the Great Maw, south of Nangao, and then you're in Cathay. That is how that road works. There used to be another route you could take, though it's no longer canon, where you could go from Talea through, you'd cross the mountains into the Border Princes, you'd cross through a pass, you could either cross through this pass right here, or you could cross through Blackfire Pass up into the Empire, and then you would go all the way up, and then you would either cross in front of Karak Kadrin through Peak Pass, or you'd keep going all the way up until you got to Kislev, and you would cross through High Pass. But either way, once you got to this side of the eastern side of the World's Edge Mountains, you would then cross Zorn Uzkul north into the Eastern Steppes. Once you arrived in the Eastern Steppes, you would go all the way across, sticking as close as you could to the mountains to avoid the Hobgoblin Khanates and the Warriors of Chaos and the Ogres, until you got to the Great Bastion. And then you would cross the Great Bastion by hopefully them letting you into Cathay. But that's a super shitty way to get there. And is no longer canon. Where do the fish people live? In the ocean. The fish people have a massive fortress right here where Chup-Yodel sank, because they control Chup-Yodel now. They also are noted to live very heavily in the underground caverns of Nagaroth, because Nagaroth has a vast underground cave system full of the ocean, known as the Dark Way. And the Dark Way is full of fish people. And then there's lots of fish people all over the ocean. Though the fish people are noted to live in the Great Ocean. They supposedly do not live, or they supposedly are not very popular or populous in the Far Sea or the Sea of Dread. The Great Ocean is where they call home. Why is that? Why is this road no longer canon? Because it's no longer safe. The Talaeans that took this route, the Ivory Road did not exist at that point in the lore. Because when they made the road that goes over the Ogre Kingdoms, that was because the Ogre Kingdoms had not had their army book released yet, and the Ogre lore had not been updated. Once the Ogre lore was updated, they rewrote the Ivory Road so that it just cuts straight through the Ogre Kingdoms. Fish people like mermen, more like horrifying needle-filled mouth, pale, scaly flesh, giant krakens, and monstrous creatures. Much more like Cthulhu-esque deep ones. I call them the deep ones. That's my little pet name for them. With Total War Warhammer 3, do you think we'll be able to circumvent the world? There's no reason we shouldn't be able to. Look at this. Grand Cathay goes all the way to the Eastern Ocean. And for that ocean, you just go this way, and you pop out on Nagaroth. That's it. Where did I get a clear map? I googled. but my Google Fu may be better than yours. The only places that we have not explored, the only places left to explore if Creative Assembly just wants all the points, is to do End, the Kingdoms of End, the Hinterlands of Koresh, which is the Naga of Koresh, Nippon, which is actually 3 islands, not just one little island. I think it is, actually. I don't think Nippon is just this island. I think it's all 3. And then the Lost Isles of Elithis as 0 lore. I don't know anything about the Lost Isles. I know the Lost Isles are supposed to be the equivalent to, like, Australia, but what's to the far south? The Southern Chaos Wastes. Antarctica. It's literally just an icy, hellish land where there's just demons and beastmen. As far as the eye can see. Tor Elithis refugees are a rogue army in Total War Warhammer. Well, that's unfortunate for them. Tor Elithis is right here. Tor Elithis is down here because the High Elves have a series of towers across the entire world. Like the High Elves maintain a very active series of towers on all these little islands that allows them to control the entirety of the ocean because they have like lots of like ports and stuff. That doesn't come close to the Tomb King lands. I guess there was another route those times. So the Tomb Kings, the way the Tomb Kings get to Cathay, because the Tomb Kings actually used to trade with Cathay. The Tomb Kings were allies with Cathay, or at least trade partners. And the primary way they would do that is through Lamia. So Lamia has a port very, very nearby.
Another wretched foul lizard thing joins the red host. Cursed Sotek spawn.
Old Magnum!
Hype.
Welcome to the stream, dude. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the 11 months of support. I really appreciate it. So what the Tomb Kings would do is there is right here, or I think it's closer to Lamia. It's like up here somewhere. It's either down here or up. I think it's right here actually. Down here there is a cut path, a valley through the World's Edge Mountains. That's called the it's called the Valley of Kings, and yeah, it's right here. So what Nehekara did is you would go through the Valley of Kings to get to this area where you have Lamia and Marak and all this stuff in Leberus. And the ports here would send out ships through the Sea of Dread that would go down beneath End and come up and trade with Cathay. Or they'd go like through the gates of Calith and come up over here and trade with Cathay. But the Nehekarans did not trade over land with Cathay. They traded over the sea. Do I think the Mortal Empires map is really possible with all 3 combined? I have honestly no idea, Legend Scar. I hope it is, but I have no idea. How is the Silver Road profitable for Cathay when the ogres take huge tariffs? Because Cathay very rarely sends traders to the Empire. Normally, traders come from the Empire to Cathay. They do all their exchanging. Cathay makes all the monies, and then they send them back. But Greasus is a good and a bad thing. If you know, which most traders do, if you are a trader and you know you have to deal with Greasus, you pack that into your tariffs. Like you bring so much stuff, but you make sure you bring a bribe to deal with Greasus. Because the good thing about Greasus is that he protects the trade route. Greasus makes sure that the Ivory Road is stable. Nobody raids the Ivory Road. Nobody. Because if you were to try and raid the Ivory Road, Greasus would obliterate you. He would stop at nothing to ground you into dirt for threatening his empire. And Greasus is the law in the Ogre Kingdoms. No Ogre tribe dare mess with Greasus. And he protects the Ivory Road. Well, hopefully that answers all those questions. I mean, I hope we get the full map. Like, I would really, 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 really like on Mortal Empires to be able to go, or Immortal Empires, to be able to go around Lustria, to be able to go around the Southlands, to be able to go around End and Koresh, and Nippon, and be able to, like, go from the eastern shore of Cathay to the western shore of Naggaroth. Like, if they did that, man, like, we literally could never ask for anything ever again. I mean, we already know they're going to go really ham on the Realm of Chaos, but I really hope we are able to go around stuff. With the reveal that the Dragon Emperor and the Moon Empress predate the old ones, does that mean the Great Planet's a load of crap? Nope. Nope. That actually makes perfect sense with the Great Plan. Whale One, first of all, thanks for being here. We talked about this earlier, but it's a great thing to address again. The old ones did not understand what they were messing with. You're correct that the first line of the trailer is literally taking shots at the old ones. Because the old ones grew so powerful, so godlike, and almost beyond godlike, that this reality was not enough for them anymore. I mean, they were a starfaring race that could create portals that allowed them to do faster than light travel, right? Even in sci-fi, being able to travel faster than light is like the pinnacle, you know? That is like, that's it, that's the top. And so the old ones, it still wasn't enough. They still wanted more. And the thing is that the old ones, the way they were able to travel faster than light, and the way that they desired to increase their power, is that the old ones were tapping into another form of reality. They were ripping open gateways using their technology to create portals that would allow them to cut through this other realm. It's a realm of pure energy, this ether. The ether is probably the most accurate name for it, but most people know it as the realm of chaos. And the realm of chaos was a realm of pure energy that allowed you to do all this crazy awesome stuff and gave them a limitless power source, but it came at a cost. It sounds like the warp from 40K. Well, Metal 2, I don't know if you know this, but 40K was originally 40,000 years in the future from fantasy. So, like, yeah, they are very similar. That's because 40K is literally just stole that from fantasy. So the ether, though, had things in it. It had these... it turns out that the problem with opening these gateways is that when they established a relationship, a bridge between the real world and the ether, it was a two-way transaction. While the old ones were using the ether to fuel their technology and their magic, which were so powerful that it's impossible to tell them apart. And you could also travel through it to teleport functionally. In the real world, the problem was it wasn't an airtight seal. And because it was not an airtight seal, there were things from the real world leaking into the ether, which was emotions, ideas, dreams, nightmares. And all of these things started to coalesce in this world. And all of these ideas that were similar started packing together and started to do things. So, like, all these concepts of rage were bound together. All these concepts of hope were bound together. All these concepts of despair were bound together. And all these concepts of pleasure and excess were bound together. And with all of these starting to bind together, and they got bigger and bigger and bigger as the old ones kept creating more life, trying to do things, they became aware. And they started to resent the old ones constantly, like, invading their realm and teleporting through it and essentially, like, using it. And they started to attack the old ones. So the old ones suddenly find themselves under attack from something they accidentally created. And as the old ones are coming under attack, they begin to realize that because of the very nature of this universe, this extra realm is a realm of infinite energy, and these entities are made of this energy. Therefore, they cannot die. They are immortal. In a through the means that the old ones had available. So the old ones begin what's known as the Great Plan. And the Great Plan had one directive, one final goal. And the final goal of the Great Plan is to kill chaos, is to slay the dark gods, and to banish chaos from all realities and get everything back to the way they want it. That was the purpose. And in the infamous words of Tony Stark, not a great plan. Because every time the old ones created a new race to try and find something that would be able to interact with chaos and be able to dominate, control, or kill it, every time they did that, they were making it worse. So they were basically doing the equivalent. If you want a good idea of what the old ones functionally did, is that the old ones were like living in a house, and they found this really cool fuel source to power all these cool things in their house. But the fuel source was unstable, and they didn't understand it as well as they needed to, and so the fuel source catches part of the house on fire. And the old ones, realizing, oh shit, part of the house is on fire, start trying to figure out a way to put out the fire. But they don't know how. They've never seen a fire before. So they start creating all these different chemicals in an attempt to create something that will put out the fire. But every time they create something, unfortunately for them, they just end up creating things that make the fire bigger. So they're like, okay, we created this new thing called gasoline. Whoosh! Oh shit, that made that worse. Okay, that didn't work. So let's not do gasoline. That didn't work. Let's try creating this new thing. Okay, we created, I don't know, super dry wood. Whoosh! Okay, that didn't work. Shit. Okay, this is getting really bad. Okay, I think we figured it out. Let's try and create something, maybe like something that's gonna be water or whatever. And then as they're trying to make water, the house completely goes up in flames and everybody dies. And you know, that's the situation. So, how many years of DLC can we expect? Probably at least 4 or 5. Are we talking about gender reveal parties? But yeah, why did they not seal it? Presumably the old ones couldn't. I think the old ones were in a scenario where they opened a door they did not have the ability to close. Or perhaps they were too stubborn. Perhaps the old ones believed themselves to be unkillable. Perhaps they believed themselves to be gods. And because their power over the universe... Because, I mean, to their benefit, or to their... In fairness to the old ones, they were genuinely unfathomably powerful. I mean, they did not seem limited by anything. Do the lizardmen feed chaos? No, the lizardmen do not feed chaos. Or at least they don't feed it very well. There is an argument to be made that the skinks and saurus and croxigors have very minor interaction with the ether, which culminated in Tehenuin and led to the whole Sotek incident. But yeah, am I disappointed that we won't get a playable Celestial Dragon Emperor? No, I get 2 playable legendary lords of humans that could turn into dragons, and they're the son and daughter of the Dragon Emperor. That is totally fine with me. I had no real attachment to the Celestial Dragon Emperor, so him being like a god functionally in this instance does not change anything. Do I think Lizardman characters could reappear in AOS? Yeah, probably. I mean, Lord Croak's already back. And if anything, Lord Croak's even more powerful and active than he was in AOS or in Fantasy. Are Lizardmen immune to chaos? They are immune to falling to chaos, but it can still kill them. You know, it can still, like, corrupt their bodies and force them to die. But they are very, very resistant to it. Chaos does not understand them very well. Yes, technically there are dragons that could turn into humans, not humans that turn into dragons. How did the old ones die? The Chaos Gods and the old ones had a big final cataclysmic showdown. And during the showdown where the old ones were presumably fighting them at the, either in the ether or at where the ether and reality overlay, we don't know what happened, but something happened. And it was likely that the Dark Gods threw everything they had at the old ones, and the old ones threw everything they had at the Dark Gods. And those powers colliding literally caused reality itself to just go. And so the polar web gates, because there was a polar gate at the North Pole and there was a polar gate at the South Pole. There were these giant gateways that were open to the ether and allowed the old ones to move their, like, continent-sized spaceships through. And both of them detonated because they got overloaded somehow. So they both implode. They don't explode, they implode. And the old ones died at that instant. How did Chaos view the Lizardmen? As very, very annoying. And some Chaos are terrified of the Lizardmen. Most Chaos think the Lizardmen are like irrelevant relics of an ancient past that they've already beaten. So like they have nothing to fear from them. Some of the smarter people in Chaos are a little bit afraid of the Lizardmen because the Lizardmen are kind of one of their only true ancient rivals. But it just depends on the individual. Do I think we'll get Lu Bu and Dong Zhao in the first or second DLC? No. I don't. I think they'd be a little overshadowed, Professor Pone. Are the Lizardmen's appearance/form based on the old ones' forms? No. The old ones designed the races of the Warhammer Fantasy world based on the materials they had at hand. And forms that they found pleasing. We have vague descriptions of what the old ones looked like. And the old ones seemed like they were kind of at that level where they did not have a true physical form, and unless they wanted to. And when they took a physical form, they just looked like whatever they wanted. So, like, some of them are noted as being almost like human-animal hybrids, where I believe it's Tlunksha is noted as looking like a super ripped man. Like, he was just like a beastly dude that rode on a flying chariot during some of the wars. Because he fought in a couple of battles in the Warhammer Fantasy world. There's also, but like Tepok was like inscrutable. Like, Tepok's whole thing is that he was so like otherworldly that nobody had a fucking clue what he looked like. The imagery that is written about him suggests that he was serpentine and he had a lot of wings. But like Hanchi is noted to have appeared as a jaguar. Like, his whole thing is that he apparently really, really liked jaguars. And he took the form of one. Or was at least very close to being one. Sotek, who you could argue is an old one, is literally just a giant snake. You've got Chotek. Nobody knows what Chotek looked like, but he's always just represented by the sun. So Chotek might have literally just been a giant ball of light. Who else is out there? There's Tzeentch. Tzeentch was a big into aquatics. Don't really know what he looks like. Did Sotek die? Nah, Sotek's still around. Sotek survived the end time. Sotek didn't give a fuck. Itzel, I don't remember there being any particular notes about Itzel. We know that Itzel cared for beasts, but I don't think we have any forms. We don't have any notes about his form. Yeah, ogres are true neutral. Tomb Kings, the Tomb Kings and the Ogre Kingdoms are the only true neutral races in Warhammer Fantasy. They are not aligned with destruction. They are not aligned with order. They don't give a shit about anybody else. They don't even give a shit about each other. Like the ogres don't care about the other ogres that much, and the Tomb Kings don't care about the other Tomb Kings that much. They're just doing their own shit. How active is the Southern Chaos Waste? It's kind of just like a never-ending rave where instead of partying, they're like killing and eating each other. But they don't have any land bridges to anywhere else on the planet, so they can't get to the rest of the world. So thankfully, they're just kind of like locked in their own little spot. Are the fish people not neutral? We don't know enough about them. The fish people are probably neutral, because they seem like they're a primordial race that doesn't really give a shit about anybody, but we have no idea. Are there elven colonies near Cathay? Yeah. Here's Cathay. You've got the Tower of the Rising Sun is right here. Tor Elithis is right here. You've got the Tower of the Sun is here. You got the Tower of Stars down here. You got Tor Elisor down here. Ulthuan trades with Cathay a lot. I've heard of Chaos Ogres, but never Chaos Tomb Kings. That's because the Tomb Kings are dead. Undead have nothing to offer Chaos. You have to be alive to offer Chaos anything. If you're undead, you're literally useless to them. What about the Sleeper race? The Sleeper race only had a single member still alive, and it was killed in Gotrek and Felix. So... and the Sleeper in Gotrek and Felix had made a pact with the Dark Gods. So I would assign them as a Chaos race. What's in the Hinterlands? The Hinterlands of Koresh are a massive series of jungles, and they are ruled over by the Naga. And the Naga are they are snake men. The Naga of Koresh are a chaos worshipping race that are really, really big into blood magic and sacrificing humans. Didn't the Blood Dragon give himself to corner the end times? What have we said about the end times? what have we said about the end times? Pretend it's not there. Like, the only time we pay attention to the end times is when we have to talk about AOS stuff. But don't worry about the end times. Shit gets weird in the end times. It happened, but we just don't worry about the details. Don't worry about the details. Just, the world blew up. That's all you need to know. Do I think Emmerich will get unique diplomacy lines with the Dragon Children? I'd like that, but I doubt it unless they bring his voice actor back in. So isn't the Dragon Emperor like an old one? No, he is one of the primordial ancient dragons. He's been on the planet. He's one of the, like, original great powers of the planet. But he's not on the same power level as the old ones. The old ones were different. But the old ones talked to the Dragon Emperor. They had conversations. But they are not the same thing. You mentioned earlier a separate dimension for the dwarf gods. What was it called? It's called the Glittering Realm. Like glittering gold. The Glittering Realm. Will Rakarth try to subdue Miao Ying? They're... Man, I will, Warhammer, what is that subreddit called? Never mind, I'm not gonna say it out loud. Certain aspects of the Warhammer community are probably going to be very busy over the coming weeks. I'll just put it that way. Could the Dragon Emperor return in Age of Sigmar? Anything's possible in Age of Sigmar. Age of Sigmar has no rules. It literally has no rules. Any idea how the Dragon Emperor looks like? Nope, no idea. He's probably gold, is the only thing I would suggest, but other than that, we have no idea. Bloodchob. Don't worry about the end times. Don't worry about it. I hope CA will make the Celestial City visible. That would be so awesome. It would. It would. Well, I would love for the Celestial City to be like, if you attack Cathay, maybe that's their last, like, super map. Zhao Ming versus Emmerich. Emmerich would probably defeat Zhao Ming in a fight. I mean, Emmerich's not called the Master of Dragons as a joke. Like him and his dragon. Wait, is his dragon in Dragnir or is it Immeldrick? It's in Dragnir, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's in Dragnir. They would put up a hell of a fight. It depends on how powerful Zhao Ming is, but I don't know anything about Manathnir. Manathnir. God damn it. And Dragnir was a Narian's dragon. Thank you. Like, Emmerich specializes in dragon warfare. That is literally like his whole thing. That's his bread and butter. How did the dragons see the old ones and vice versa? Well, based on the trailer we got with Miao Ling, I would say that the dragons are probably not super fond of the old ones anymore. But when they met each other, they were allies. Like, the dragons were... The old ones were very impressed by the dragons and were very fond of them. Like, it's not an accident that Ulthuan has shitloads of dragons on it, and the elves, like, are very friendly with the dragons and are, like, companions to the dragons. That's not an accident. That was by design. Like, because you gotta remember, Ulthuan is not a natural occurring landmass. Ulthuan is literally a giant chunk of land the old ones and the Slann raised from the ocean floor, and it floats on magic. Literally floats on magic. It's not connected to the seafloor. And the dragons, the old ones were like, hey, we put the elves here. We would love for the dragons to, like, if you dragons want to come hang out, why don't y'all come hang out here? And the dragons were like, yeah, sure. So they all moved there. And they, like, fell in love with the elves and considered them to be very good friends. The old ones made little buddies for the dragons. Well, that wasn't the reason they made them, but that ended up being the result, yes. Do we know what deserts they're talking about with Western Cathay? Yes. So there's something in Western Cathay called the Warp Deserts, or the Warp Storm. It's either the Warp Desert or the Warpstone Desert. But it is a horrible place. And it's basically the lands that were desolated because of the Great Maw. So the Great Maw was this giant warpstone meteor that Cathay threw at the Ogre Kingdoms. And it impacted the ground right up here, and all the land around it got turned into a desolate hellscape. A desert full of horrifying creatures, and it's called the Warpstone Desert because it is deeply, deeply infected with Warpstone. The Skaven must love that place. Well, they would if it wasn't one of the most dangerous places in the world, because it's haunted by terrifying creatures. And actually, now that I think about it, because Zhao Ming is in charge of it, I actually would not be surprised if the Warpstone Desert is what's causing him to go insane. I would not be surprised if he, like, because he rules over the Western Deserts, all that exposure to just, like, crazy amounts of warpstone dust and, like, warping energies of chaos and all that stuff is causing his mind to go a little off. How do I think the Great Maw will work in Total War Warhammer 3? It'll probably be, like, a really batshit crazy map, but it'll, you know, give you the lore of the Great Maw and be really big into Ogre Kingdom's lore stuff. Why isn't the Great Bastion at the border of the desert? Because nothing lives there. It's a desolate hellscape where nothing can survive. There are some, like, monsters and, like, entities that are very heavily implied to be more elemental or magical in nature that live there, but they're likely contained to that area. Are we talking about the Iron Dragon? Yes, we're talking about the Iron Dragon. There's already been note that the Iron Dragon is apparently kind of going crazy, because apparently all of the other dragons think he's insane. Aren't there, like, warp fire elementals there? Something like that, yeah. Am I gonna make a vid on what happened to the End Times full story? Probably at some point, but I mean, that's a lot. it's a lot. Do I think the Iron Dragon might have some lore of fire spells? No, I think he's gonna have, like, the lore of Yang, and then his sister will have the lore of Yin, or the other way around. But it looks like one of the lores is really big into like orange fire. Isn't the Galleon's graveyard the exit wound from the Great Maw? Yes, it's the other side. Because the Great Maw is literally just, it's a giant mouth that goes all the way through the planet. And it's just pure mouth. That's it. It's just all mouth. Nothing. There's nothing else. There's no stomach. There's no butt. It's just mouth. And it goes all the way through. Well, if there is a stomach, no one's ever seen it. So many schools of magic now? Yeah, I know. Yeah, the ink / calligraphy style of the lore of Yin, or whatever that lore is we see in the trailer, looks amazing. Like a double-sided worm? Yep, pretty much. I didn't study enough for all these schools of magic. So the Galleon's graveyard is his anus? No, it's another mouth. It's just a mouth that drinks instead of a mouth that eats. Are all dragons aware and intelligent, or are they like... it depends on the dragon, Corncob. All dragons are intelligent. Very intelligent. Some dragons are assholes. Some dragons are cruel and sinister dicks who are selfish as hell and do not give a shit about anybody. Some dragons are immensely greedy. Some dragons are very intentionally cruel and just enjoy torturing and devouring others. No wonder they get along with the elves. Oh, the shade. But all of the dragons are intelligent. Not all of them talk, per se. Actually, very few dragons talk. Most of the dragons can make mental connections with you. Dragons talking is very, very rare. And that's before we even get on the topic of chaos dragons. Do all dragons possess the ability to shapeshift? No. That is unique to Cathay. And that's only because they're sorcerers. They can do that because they are magical. It's not like a physical trait. Wasn't yin and yang magic like dark and high magic in the old lore? Probably. But it looks like it's something different now. Chaos dragons are intelligent or mad. A little bit of both. Yes. Depends on the chaos dragon. Won't there be some dwarf Karak near the Great Bastion? No, I don't think so. The Great Bastion was built by men, not by dwarfs. The dwarves were not even remotely close to Cathay by the time they built it. Do I think we'll see giant lions like in the Shang-Chi film? I hope so. Maybe as like a DLC. Do all dragons have the ability to talk? No. The only dragons I know of that can talk are the Cathay dragons. And I would be surprised if they can actually talk when they're in dragon form. It's more likely they talk when they're in human form. The only dragon I know of that could actually talk is Galrach. And Chaos Dragons... Well, probably just Galrach, to be frank. Some dragons can't, because to be able to cast magic, you have to be able to speak the language of magic. Which is like the first language. If you cannot speak the language of magic, you cannot cast. So, any dragon that's a wizard can talk. Where's the closest Karak to Cathay? Somewhere in the Mountains of Morn. There has never been any records of dwarfs making Karaks in the ancient giant lands. But there is record of dwarfs being in the Mountains of Morn. And they have hidden Karaks there. Where is Smaug on the map? I know you're probably joking, but he's actually right here. Though he's not Smaug in Warhammer Fantasy, he is Graug. Graug the Terrible, who took the hold of Karak Azgal. Karak Azgal was was a dwarf hold that was immensely wealthy with gold and riches beyond your fathom. And it eventually fell to the tides of Greenskins and Skaven. And then Graug the Terrible heard about it and he decided he wanted all that good shit for himself. And so he took the hold, killed everybody inside it, chased off all the greenskins and Skaven, and he ruled over it as a tyrant that allowed no one else inside and slept on his gold until he was eventually killed. Yeah, there is a Hobbit ripoff story, but it wasn't a Hobbit, it was a dwarf. He was killed by... Hold on, I actually have the book here that has the art. Hold on, I'll show you. Here we go. Here's the famous art. Yeah, there's literally like official artwork. Hold on, let me make myself bigger. See? Thraug the Terrible. Thraug the Terrible being slain by a dwarf hero. Yeah, it used to be Karak Israel, which was the city of jewels before Graug took it. He was slain by Skulf, a young beardling by the name of Skulf, who became Skulf Dragonslayer. Which is why, fun fact, which is why if you take Karak Azgal in game, doesn't Karak Azgal have a unique building now? If you take it as dwarfs, doesn't it have like doesn't it literally have a unique structure? Pretty sure it does. No? Am I crazy? Maybe I'm crazy. It should have one. Can't play tabletop, but I love the Warhammer fluff. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that, dude. It's a small dragon. Listen, it's a perspective trick, okay? That's all it is. It does have a unique building? Yeah, I thought it had, like, the horde of something. So is the bond between Emmerich and any kind of in-game dragon like a friendship between a man and his dog? No, dragons are smarter than that. So the Dragon Emperor and Moon Empress seem to be pretty much above all the other dragons in terms of power. Are they comparable to other dragons and dragon ogres like Krakenrock, Aminar, and Dragnir, who are more like gods? Yeah, you could probably put them in the same ballpark. I would say they're up there with Krakenrock the Black, Aminar, all those guys. But they're probably a little above them, to be honest, because they're really powerful sorcerers. They're above them, but not by much. I mean, Krakenrock he's like literally just like a horrifying, like, he's so close to being a god, it's not even funny. Yes, there's a quote in the FAQ that says they're on par with some gods, but that's really not that helpful of a sentence, to be frank. Like, some gods? Well, which gods? Like, the power level between, say, like the power level between like the chaos gods and like the halfling gods, pretty big. pretty big gap there. Do you think Lizardmen might have a bigger role in Warhammer the Old World? I have no idea. It feels like everyone is forgetting about Tzeentch in the trailer. No, I don't think so. I mean, we talked about it earlier. It's very exciting. But Tzeentch is going to have his own full thing later. Like, we're probably going to have a month. October is probably going to be Tzeentch month. So, like, you know, he'll have his day in the sun. Like, they showed off Tzeentch, but we're not getting a lot of information until later. Do halflings have gods? Oh, yeah, dude. Halflings have a full pantheon. They've got, like, a good 4 or 5 gods. Esmeralda is their primary deity. But they have a good couple. Their gods are very funny. They stand for they don't have a war god, I'll put it that way. The halflings do not have a war god. Is Sotek on par with the old ones? Not in terms of power, no. Sotek is believed to be like a young old one, or something that the old ones created kind of as like a Hail Mary. It's complicated. The old ones knew Sotek was coming, but what exactly Sotek is a matter of debate. Halflings worship Cain. The god of murder. Like pots and pans. Like they have a cauldron of blood, but it's used for actual cooking instead of like sacrifices. And Cain's just like, just all right, whatever. The Lord of Change looked cool in the trailer when he blasted down the Zeppelin. Well, it wasn't a Zeppelin, it was a war balloon, but that wasn't just a Lord of Change either. That was Cairo's Fate Weaver. That's the Tzeentch legendary lord. Cauldron for blood pudding. Yeah, exactly. Would it actually affect a halfling if you pick up the Sword of Cain? I'm sure it would affect him, but of all the things that could pick up this, I don't know if the Sword of Cain would allow him to pick it up. I'd probably be like, put me down! Like, everyone sees it as like a blade or a scepter of rulership or any other stuff. The halfling just sees it as like a dinner fork. That's like, it's like, oh! It's like, it's a fork, but instead of 4 prongs, it has 5 prongs. Any more Witcher 3 today? Maybe. Later today. The Spoon of Cain. Yeah, it's not even sharp. The Spoon of Cain. It's a spork! That's what it is. The Spork of Cain. Because clearly the halflings have not feasted their eyes on that incredible leap in technology. So that's what Cain would provide them with. The spork. How do I think the Monkey King could be integrated in the story? I have very little idea. I'd have to do more research on like the actual Monkey King and like really understand his background well enough. I have already secured a special guest for this Sunday's episode of Lorebeards, who is extremely familiar with Chinese and Southeast Asian mythology and history. So we're gonna go over some pretty shit, and maybe he can help us close a lot of gaps. Fucking meme. Looking at the battle map of Cathay, what do you think will happen to the Dwarf Carax? Hopefully new maps. Where's my excitement from 1 to 10? Oh, pretty easy 10. pretty. Is it Turin? It's not Turin. Listen, I love Turin, but I don't think he's much of an aficionado on Chinese mythology and history. Man, I cannot imagine anything that that would probably be like the most offensive thing we could do on Lorebeards. Is bring on Turin. It's like, yes, we brought on like an official knowledge man on Chinese myth. Just watch OSP's Journey to the West. Oh, dude, you're bold of you to think I have not already binge watched all of OSP's content. I need to watch it again, though. Bets on races, aside from Chaos Dawi. End Naga of Koresh, Nippon, Chaos Dwarf, Ogre Kingdoms are my top 5. And then somewhere below that is Fish People, which I desperately hope for, but think is impossible. Also, I guess Hobgoblin Khanate is somewhere around there, too. Why were all of the Cathay common soldiers so stone-faced in the video? I don't know. Because no one wanted to animate them smiling? Are people smiling in the Empire trailer? Hey, Palooka, what's up? Emperor versus Emperor. Who wins? Sigmar or the Dragon Emperor? I would just side with the Dragon Emperor because I just like him more. Sigmar's cool, I guess, but like I like Sigmar, but he's not my favorite god. So ND Pride? Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's who I would go to. Yep. Who would win, Zargard versus Saurus Warrior? I honestly think the Zargard would probably come out on top there. Zargard are pretty heavy and elite and like well armed and armored. I think they'd be well used to dealing with opponents who are larger and stronger than them, so I think they'd actually be in a really good position to deal with a Saurus. Do I believe CA will ever rework the transformation of Caden? No. I think the best case scenario is that transformation of Caden will get like a upgraded version where if you cast the little version you get a manticore, and if you cast the big version you get like a basic dragon. I would really like that, but I don't know if that's ever going to happen. What sets Kairos apart from the other Lords of Change? Well, he has two heads instead of one head. And the thing about Kairos is that Kairos Fateweaver can see the future and the past, but he can't see the present. And the reason that is the case for him is because there's this thing at the heart of Tzeentch's realm called the Well of Eternity, which is a well that transfers through all time. So if you were to hypothetically go in the well, you would be able to see all of time at once. Which Tzeentch was like, I really want to know what's in there, but if I go in there, it could probably kill me, even though I'm a god, because that's just fuckery. So he just picked up Kairos Fateweaver, who was a really strong Lord of Change, and just threw his ass in there. He was like, you go! He just pushed him in. So Kairos fell into the realm of eternity, or the Well of Eternity, and when he finally crawled out, he now had two heads, and both heads were blessed yet cursed. So like I said, the thing about Kairos is he can very specifically see all possible futures, and he can see the past without bias, which is probably his most important power, is that Kairos Fateweaver can see the past completely without bias. But he cannot see the present, so he's totally blind in the present. He can't even perceive it. He cannot hear, see, smell, touch, or anything the present. But his future head, while he can see the future, but the problem is he sees all futures. So when he's in close combat, or just combat in general, like warfare, when there's like shit happening second to second, there are so many potential possible futures that he just can't account for all of them. So like he gets smacked. He really struggles in close combat because he's very powerful. Like Kairos hits like a truck and he can take a hit, but he can't like fight you hand to hand because the odds of that are not great. So can Kairos see the old model of himself? Presumably, yes. But Kairos is the mightiest of the Lords of Change. He is Tzeentch's like absolute big bad. And he is the most powerful sorcerer of the Lords of Change. Like he is up there with Lord Mazdamundi and other super sorcerers. Yeah, if they do Kairos right, his melee attack is going to be absolute ass. Like, Kairos should have a melee attack of, like, 10 or 20 at best. And his melee defense should also be pretty ass, like a 20 or 30. And then, like, but he should have pretty reasonable weapon strength, and his magic should just be obscene. Do you think that if they add Lizardman as FLC or DLC, would CA put them in the Dragon Isles? Probably not, because it's already, like, Malice is already there and busy. But who knows? Who knows? I don't think we're going to get any more Lizardmen Legendary Lords. I think the Lizardmen are tapped when it comes to Legendary Lords. I think there are some Legendary Heroes that could definitely pop up. But Legendary Lords, I think Lizardmen are done. If they really wanted to go crazy, I mean, they could put a Lizardman character in the Lost City of the Old Ones, which the Lost City of the Old Ones is buried in the hinterlands of Koresh, which would throw the Lizardmen somewhere. Should he be better at spellcasting than Teclis or Mazdamundi? He should be like in their ballpark. Better in worse, some ways worse than others. Like Teclis and Kairos should be on very similar levels, but Kairos should be much more expensive than Teclis because he's a lot more survivable. But they did that stupid bullshit where they gave Teclis a Phoenix, and I will always forever be pissed at that stupid fucking Phoenix because it completely ruins Teclis. Like, if you give any shits about lore accuracy, you should never use that mount because it just breaks Teclis. Teclis's most important theme is that he's squishy. Like, he is physically fragile and is very, very susceptible to damage. But they completely fucked that up with giving him a Phoenix mount. Like, that was a huge miscalculation by the dev that did that, and it was a single dev. I have spoken with that dev, and I chewed his ass out nicely, but I was like, you shouldn't have done that, dude. We had a long discussion about they really need to think more carefully about not fucking just upgrading every single legendary lord in the goddamn game with monstrous mounts, because it just ruins the point of a lot of the game. Alright guys, my throat hurts and I need to order and eat lunch. So I want to thank you all very, very much for joining me. I am not done streaming for the day. I'm just done streaming for now, especially because I have to upload this stream on YouTube, so the longer it goes, the more difficult that's going to be. So I think Teto Echo would be better as a legendary hero than legendary lord, to be honest. I don't see what Teto Echo brings to the table that's not already there with, like, Tehenwen. Malore fact. All right, hold on. Who is the Lizardman character that's traveled more around the world? Oxyotl. Oxyotl literally has walked around the entire planet. Krokar probably has gotten, like, more miles. But Oxyotl has been to some, like, absolutely wild places. And then Greedy Rainbow. Does Tzeentch think about the Great Plan? Tzeentch works to, like, Tzeentch knows about the Great Plan, and he works very hard to disrupt it and mess with it. But I would not say that he knows the Great Plan. He doesn't know any more than the Slann do about it, though he may claim otherwise. But he certainly knows it exists, and he does try to fuck with it as best he can. What about Nakai? Nakai doesn't leave Lustria terribly often. Nakai is more like a guardian spirit of Lustria. Krokar, we know, has fought on every continent, so Krokar is definitely up there. No more, we're done. Why does Tyrion not only use Malhandir, not a dragon or something? Because Tyrion has never bonded with a dragon. You can't just ride a dragon. You have to bond with it if you live in Ulthuan. You have to earn that dragon's trust and respect. It's not, and it's a whole process. You can't just, like, walk into the room and be like, "Bitch, you're mine." It don't work that way. It don't work that way. All right, I'm out.